Welcome to the fantasy audiobook. Forced to become a villain, the system gives me so much. Chapter 41. Jong Basuan, Long Aotian, Li Rencho, Ning Yi, and Ji Yu Changge. These 5 people are all sons of luck, and their luck levels are all very high. Kill them, then the system rewards should be very rich. Chen Ling thought, his mouth almost watering. After Chen Lei brought Chen Ling and the others to the registration office, he said to the old man lying on the chair, "Mr. Gao, please check in for them." The old man who heard the voice slowly opened his eyes, looked at Chen Lei, and asked with a smile, "Oh, you, the vice principal who usually has no tail, why are you interested in receiving the new students today?" After hearing this, Chen Lei patted Chen Ling on the shoulder and laughed loudly and said, "Haha. Mr. Gao, stop joking. This is this year's top pick in the martial arts exam. Tell me, am I interested?" After that, he turned to look at Chen Ling, his eyes full of admiration. However, at this time, Chen Ling did not pay attention to Chen Lei's words, but secretly looked at Gao Lao. I can't help but sigh in my heart. Sure enough, Qinglong University is really Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. The novels about past lives do not deceive me. Don't underestimate any old man lying on a chair. Great Saint Realm. Tisk, tisk, I wonder which of the Sons of Destiny is the backer. Chen Ling thought to himself. Oh, let me tell you, it turns out it's your Chen family, no wonder you are so concerned about it. However, this kid is still the first to kill more than 5 million people in the martial arts exam. Gao Lao said with sudden realization. Hearing this, Chen Lei quickly explained, "Mr. Gao, you are making me laugh. As a member of the Chen family, I hold a high position, so naturally I have to give some care to the younger generations. Okay, just ask them to fill in their personal information. Since they are members of the Chen family, you can choose those villas as you like." Gao Lao waved his hand and said, then took out a few forms and distributed them to Chen Ling and others, and then snored by himself. This old guy is always like this. Chen Lei smiled helplessly and said to Chen Ling, "Xiao Ling, after you fill out the form, you can choose the villa by yourself. I have other things to deal with, so I'll excuse you." Chen Ling didn't say much. After filling out the form, he left. The moment they left, Gao Lao, who was snoring, suddenly opened his eyes and looked at Chen Ling's back. Qinglong University is going to be bloody again. After choosing a villa, Chen Ling and others all moved in, one for each person. Qinglong University is really wealthy. In the villa, Chen Ling released Qin Yao from the universe ring. It was not a problem to stay in the ring all the time. As soon as Qin Yao saw Chen Ling, she quickly threw herself into his arms. "Honey, I miss you." Chen Ling rubbed her head and said softly, "You can live in the villa from now on." After Qin Yao's instigation, Chen Ling's anger suddenly rose, and the two began to exercise. In the stands of the duel arena, Jong Basuan was sitting there, watching the competition on the field calmly, but some conversations around him kept reaching his ears. "Have you heard? This year's top scorer in the martial arts examination actually came to our Qinglong University." A boy with a pockmarked face said excitedly. "The number 1 winner in the martial arts examination. Who is it? Why haven't I heard of it?" A fat man next to him asked with confusion on his face. "Oh, you stay in the villa all day and you don't even know such big news," the pock-marked boy said speechlessly. Some time ago, a man named Chen Ling took the Martial Dao College entrance examination. He showed amazing strength in the secret realm and killed more than 5 million candidates. His points were so high that he became this person in one fell swoop. The top scorer in the martial arts exam. The boy with the pockmarked face described excitedly. Hiss, 5 million people. How high must the pile be? The little fat man couldn't help but take a breath after hearing this. That's not true. More importantly, the Presbyterian Council and the people from those aristocratic families originally planned to cause trouble for him and suppress him directly. The pock-marked boy continued. But Chen Ling's family background is not simple. He is the 4th young master of the Chen family in Tiandu. In the end, the Chen family took action and the matter was settled. Also, haven't 2 aristocratic families of the same level as the Chen family been wiped out recently? It is rumored that because they provoked Chen Ling and his men wiped out the whole family. All go. This Chen Ling is simply a murderer. The little fat man trembled all over. So, it is better to offend others than to offend Chen Ling, otherwise, people will die. When Jong Basuan heard this, a trace of surprise flashed in his eyes. He didn't expect that this Chen Ling was so powerful, and he was also a member of the Chen family in Tiandu. His eyes burned with jealousy. Jong Basuan continued to listen to the discussions of the outer courtyard disciples, secretly thinking about how to deal with Chen Ling. Suddenly, one of the outer court disciples said, "Do you know? It is said that Chen Ling got a divine weapon in the secret realm. It is said to be a blood-red sword. Is it true? The divine weapon is a very rare treasure." Another disciple from the outer courtyard asked in surprise. "Of course it's true. It's said that the divine weapon is so powerful that it can easily cross the border and kill enemies." The disciple from the outer courtyard said proudly. When Jong Basuan heard this, he couldn't help but feel a strong feeling of jealousy in his heart. He couldn't help but cursed in a low voice, "Chen Ling, why is he so lucky? Not only is he gifted, but he can also get such a treasure. Why don't I, Jong Basuan, have such a powerful family? Why does Chen Ling have one? Kill my woman. I will never let you go. Chen Ling." Jong Basuan clenched his fists tightly, his eyes shining with determination. He secretly vowed to make Chen Ling pay the price and take back everything that belongs to him. In the spacious and bright villa, Chen Ling had just finished a vigorous exercise, and his body was soaked with sweat. After Chen Ling took a shower and changed into comfortable clothes, he lay lazily on the soft sofa, holding his mobile phone in his hand and browsing the screen casually. Suddenly, a message popped up in the green bubble group of Class 1. Students from Class 1 are invited to gather in the classroom at 7 o'clock tonight. This news was like dropping a pebble into a calm lake, instantly breaking the silence in the group. Immediately afterwards, the students bubbled up one after another, and the whole class suddenly became lively. "Hello, mentor," Hu Yanbin spoke first. "Teacher, is it 7 o'clock tonight?" Zhao Li also asked. "There are no eyes upstairs," Hao Wenming said unceremoniously. "I want you to take care of it." Zhao Li replied not to be outdone. While everyone was arguing, Xiao Jing sent a red envelope and left a message. "Everyone, we are all classmates, it would be bad if it hurts our friendship. Congratulations on getting rich, good luck." This red envelope was like a good medicine, which immediately eased the tense atmosphere. Everyone thanked Xiao Jing one after another, and all kinds of thanks came one after another. However, when the red envelope was sent out, it was quickly snatched up in just 1 second. Chen Ling stopped reading and turned off his phone. "What's wrong?" Qin Yao hooked Chen Ling's neck from behind and asked softly. Chen Ling patted her hand, smiled and said, "It's okay, I have to go to the classroom at 7 o'clock tonight." Qin Yao nodded, expressing understanding. "Okay." At the same time, Xie Ziqing, Xiao Chuhe and others also received the news that they were assigned to the same class as Chen Ling. Time passed quickly, and in a blink of an eye, night fell and the sky became pitch black. The bell rang at 7 o'clock, and Xie Ziqing, Lu Feng and others found Chen Ling. There were 7 people in the group, and they walked towards the classroom together. Many people have arrived in the classroom one after another, and the scene is very lively. Some students knew each other and gathered together to chat, others took the opportunity to make new friends, and the atmosphere was warm and harmonious. "Wow, Master Xiao, you are so handsome." A girl looked at Xiao Jing with admiration on her face, with little stars twinkling in her eyes. Yes, Mr. Xiao looks so handsome when he hands out red envelopes in the group." Another girl also echoed, her tone full of admiration. After hearing this, Xiao Jing was secretly proud of himself, and the corners of his mouth slightly raised, revealing an imperceptible smile. But he still pretended to be humble and said with a smile, "Oh, it's just a small amount of money. Maybe there is someone richer than me in the class." At this moment, a series of exclamations came. "Wow! Who is he? How can he be so handsome? Looking at his temperament, he is definitely not an ordinary person. Yes, Xiao Jing doesn't have this kind of temperament at all." The girl just now approached him. After Xiao Jing heard these words, he felt a little unhappy. He thought that he was the most attractive person. How could anyone be more attractive than him? When he saw Chen Ling, he was even more dissatisfied. He felt that this person looked very ordinary. How could he be so charming? He thought to himself, if you dare to steal my limelight, I want to see who it is. Chen Ling and others walked over expressionlessly and sat down on their seats. Although they didn't deliberately show anything special, the people around them couldn't help but cast curious eyes on them. Their appearance caused a small commotion, with constant comments and exclamations. Xiao Jing was sitting behind Chen Ling. He looked at Chen Ling's back, and his dissatisfaction became stronger. He felt that this person must be deliberately showing off in front of everyone, hoping to attract more people's attention. So, he decided to teach Chen Ling a lesson, letting him know that keeping a low profile is the way to survive in a place like Qinglong University. He stretched out his hand, patted Chen Ling's shoulder gently, and then said in a pretense of intimacy, "Hey, classmate, keep a low profile. There are crouching tigers and hidden dragons in Qinglong University. You may offend someone at any time." Xiao Jing's tone contained a hint of warning and threat. He hoped that through these words, Chen Ling would understand that he should not be too high profile to avoid unnecessary trouble. At the same time, he also wanted to take this opportunity to show his majesty to others and tell everyone who is the real boss. Chen Ling turned his head away indifferently, his face as cold as frost. "I hate men touching me the most. And don't call me, hey, again. In addition, you are neither that dragon nor that tiger, so you can provoke me so far. No one has survived for more than a day. You're lucky. I have no intention of going on a killing spree today." After Chen Ling said this, he released a hint of cultivation aura, and Xiao Jing flew out like a kite with its strings broken. At this moment, a slim figure quickly flashed out from behind and caught Xiao Jing. A slender hand gently pressed on his back, deftly neutralizing Chen Ling's fierce aura. She glanced at Chen Ling as if nothing had happened and said softly, "Let's start the meeting." Xiao Jing was sweating profusely and his legs were trembling as he walked back to his seat with difficulty. The noise stopped suddenly, and everyone's eyes focused on the woman. She walked up to the podium gracefully, picked up the chalk gracefully, and wrote a few beautiful words on the blackboard, Han Xia. She raised the corners of her mouth slightly, revealing a charming smile, and said softly, "My name is Han Xia, and I am your mentor." The voice was clear and sweet, like the sound of nature. "Wow, is this our mentor? So beautiful, hey hey hey." Suddenly there were exclamations and whistles in the classroom. A group of boys stared at Han Xia on the podium with wide eyes and fascination, as if they saw a goddess coming. Some even started to drool, completely immersed in her beauty. Han Xia seemed to be accustomed to this kind of scene. She just smiled softly and continued, "I called the students here today for no other reason than to let everyone get to know each other. By the way, let me tell you about the opening ceremony." Chen Ling sat quietly in his seat, but his eyes fell on Han Xia involuntarily. He secretly checked her personal dashboard, and couldn't help but feel a sense of wonder in his heart. Name, Han Xia. Age, 26. Realm, Early Saint Realm. Special physique, glazed lunar body. Chen Ling secretly sighed that a random tutor could be a saint, and he was still so young, only 26 years old. It seems that Qinglong University is really a crouching tiger, hidden dragon, with a profound foundation. Then please invite the students to come on stage and introduce themselves. Han Xia stepped aside with a smile on her face. In order from left to right, they will be introduced on stage. The first classmate, who looked ordinary, walked up to the podium. He bowed to Han Xia first, and then said, "My name is Hao Wenming. I like women. Oh no, I like to practice. I am currently in the 7th pulse condensation realm. Layer." The people below listened to his introduction, and the corners of their mouths twitched. Just introduce it as you introduced it. What the hell is a hobby girl? Have you spoken your mind? The second classmate, who looks a bit handsome, said, "Hello everyone, my name is Hu Yanbin. I know I am handsome, but if you are not in love, please don't fall in love with me. My current state is the pulse condensation realm 8th layer." Everyone else almost vomited. This Hu Yanbin is simply a narcissist. The third classmate, who was tall and dark-skinned, walked onto the stage and said in a loud voice, "Hello everyone, my name is Wang Meng, I am at the peak of the 9th layer." After that, he walked off the stage. The fourth classmate, wearing glasses and looking like a nerd, walked up to the podium, pushed up his glasses and said, "My name is Sun Wenhao, I am at the peak of 9th layer." The fifth classmate, who was a bit fat, walked up to the podium and said with an honest smile, "My name is Jong He. You can call me Fatty Jong. I am at the peak of the 9th layer of pulse condensation realm." At this time, it was finally the turn of Xie Ziqing and others to come on stage and introduce themselves. I saw Xie Ziqing walking up to the stage with a calm face, and his voice was cold and emotionless. "My name is Xie Ziqing. I have no special hobbies. My current level is the 3rd layer of the Yuan Palace realm." As soon as he finished speaking, he walked off the stage and returned to the team expressionlessly. Hiss. It turns out to be the Yuan Palace realm. This is too strong. There were bursts of exclamations from the crowd. I seem to have heard the name Xie Ziqing somewhere. Could it be? Someone began to think about the origin of this name. Immediately afterwards, Xiao Chuhe, Wang Tang, Qin Lan, Zhao Kongcheng, Zhong Chao and others took the stage to introduce themselves. The strength of each person was shocking. Xiao Chuhe, Yuangong Realm 2nd layer. Wang Tang, Yuan Palace Realm 2nd layer. Qin Lan, Yuangong Realm 1st layer. Zhao Kongcheng, Yuangong Realm 2nd layer. Zhong Chao, Yuangong Realm 1st layer. The people in the audience were shocked by this series of powerful strength and were a little numb. 6 Yuan Palace Realm powerhouses. What an incredible talented lineup this is. In comparison, ordinary students like them are currently at the pulse condensation realm 9th layer. The gap between them and Xie Ziqing and others is really huge. At this moment, someone suddenly seemed to have remembered something and exclaimed, "I remembered it. Didn't they just lose to the geniuses who killed the god in the secret realm trial?" "Yes, I heard that they have all surrendered to the god of death." Another person agreed. Han Xia stood at the edge of the podium and thought to herself, "I didn't feel anything from the information, but after seeing their realm with my own eyes, it's really scary." Finally, it was Chen Ling's turn. He walked over slowly, with steady and powerful steps. His appearance seemed to have an invisible magic power, attracting the attention of everyone present, even Han Xia. Everyone couldn't help but focus on him. "My name is Chen Ling." His voice was low and firm, with a unique charm. As these 3 words came out of his mouth, the entire classroom fell into silence. When the name was read out, everyone in the audience showed surprised expressions, and some people whispered, I'm just saying, even those geniuses are here, how can this god of death not come?" Another person echoed, "Yes, when he was in the secret realm, he flew so high that he couldn't see his face clearly. He looked like this." Chen Ling didn't pay attention to the comments around him. He continued to introduce calmly, "Hobby, killing. Realm, 9th layer." Hearing his direct and domineering self-introduction, the audience once again burst into exclamation. Especially those who had heard about him couldn't help but take a breath of cold air. However, Xie Ziqing and others were very calm. They had long seen how powerful Chen Ling was. If these people knew that Chen Ling slaughtered 20 saints by himself, they would probably be shocked and doubt their life, right? Chen Ling said calmly, "I am usually a very easy-going person. What happened in the secret realm has passed. I am too lazy to care about it, and I will not kill you for this reason. But, if someone dares jumping around in front of me, I don't mind sending him to meet the king of hell." After speaking, he glanced at Han Xia, turned around and left, returned to his seat and sat down. "Easy going. You were really good at telling lies." Everyone looked at each other and murmured to themselves. Han Xia stared at the direction Chen Ling was leaving, and her heart was already filled with turmoil. At the age of 18, he has already reached the 9th layer. In time, when he breaks through to the Saint realm, it will be okay. Xiao Jing, on the other hand, was like a frightened rabbit, trembling all over. After a brief introduction, he quickly sat back in his seat and never dared to look at Chen Ling again. "I'm actually in the same room with this god of murder. I'm afraid I'll be sad in the future. My future is bleak. God, can you tell me why this guy is so powerful? God, he is hanging on the wall. Okay, everyone knows each other now." Han Xia walked to the center of the podium and said. The people below had not yet reacted from the shock and fear, and nodded casually. "Everyone must know the rule in Qinglong University, which is that the weak eat the strong." Han Xia continued. "Here, no one will pity the weak. If you want to have the confidence to raise your head and speak, you must practice hard and keep getting stronger." As soon as these words came out, the students below became even more miserable. With geniuses like Xie Ziqing weighing on them, they could hardly breathe, let alone Chen Ling of 9th layer in the Aperture Realm. Han Xia was also very helpless. If it were her, she would have no hope. Chen Ling is too evil. Okay, let me talk about the opening ceremony. Han Xia changed the subject. The people below also came back to their senses and listened to her next words. Tomorrow is the opening ceremony. In the duel field, the freshmen will fight against each other to determine the winner and loser. They will be ranked in order and make a list of freshmen. Also, everyone can challenge Laosheng. As long as you defeat 100, you can be on the Hidden Dragon ranking. Chen Ling was thoughtful. He didn't like the new students. If he could match up with the old students, it would be Thailand Wanmei. Teacher Han, I have a question. Chen Ling said mysteriously. Han Xia was stunned and said, what questions does Chen Ling have? It's coming. It's coming. Those who are familiar with Chen Ling know what he is going to say next. Is it allowed to kill someone in a duel? Chen Ling said calmly. As soon as these words came out, the air became quiet. The classmates looked at him like a demon, and Han Xia also looked at him suspiciously. After a moment, Han Xia breathed out, you are not allowed to kill anyone in the freshman duel. That's it, Chen Ling said regretfully. Exclamation mark, exclamation mark, exclamation mark, exclamation mark. What the hell is that regretful expression on your face? But, in the duel with Lao Shang, you can kill him. Han Xia said something shocking again. That's okay, Chen Ling smiled. Han Xia looked at his smile, and her hair stood up. How come my saint-level cultivation makes me feel palpitations? Early the next morning, Chen Ling and others arrived at the duel field early. The duel field was already overcrowded at this moment, not only the freshmen who had just entered school this year, but also many senior students who came to join in the fun. However, without exception, these people are all students from the outer courtyard. After all, the students in the inner courtyard are usually busy practicing, so how can they have time to pay attention to such things? The duel ground is located in the center of the school and is an extremely magnificent building. Its appearance is circular, with a diameter of hundreds of meters, and is surrounded by towering stands that can easily accommodate tens of thousands of spectators to watch the game at the same time. The floor of the duel arena is paved with extremely hard stone slabs, which are flat and smooth, with not even a single crack to be found. In the center of the duel arena, there is a huge circular platform with a diameter of about tens of meters. The surface of the platform is covered with dense runes, and these runes shine with mysterious light. The top of the duel arena is a huge dome, made of transparent glass. Sunlight shines through the dome on the duel arena, illuminating the entire venue. At the entrance to the duel arena, there is a huge stone door with the school's motto and emblem engraved on it, which looks particularly solemn. There are two tall towers standing on both sides of the stone gate. There are two guards in black uniforms standing on the towers. They have serious expressions and are always on high alert, paying close attention to every move around them. After a night of viral news, the forum was full of posts about Chen Ling. The contents of these posts are varied. Some are praising him and hailing him as a genius among geniuses, while others are belittling him, thinking that he is not that powerful and has just been exaggerated by the media. However, those who have participated in the secret college entrance examination have different views. They witnessed Chen Ling's strength with their own eyes and had no doubt about his power. What's more, now that Chen Ling has reached the 9th layer realm, people dare not underestimate him. When Chen Ling and his party entered the duel arena, countless pairs of eyes immediately focused on him. People whispered, is this the murderer Chen Ling? Yes, I heard that yesterday he asked whether killing people was allowed at the opening ceremony. Oh my God, you can't offend this kind of person easily. He will kill someone if he disagrees with you. At this time, Jong Basuan was standing in the stands with a group of sophomores. He clenched his fists tightly and said through gritted teeth, you want to kill me? You are really overestimating your capabilities. Luo Xiaoyang on the side asked curiously, Brother Basuan, does that Chen Ling really dare to challenge us? Luo Xiaoyang is a loyal follower of Jong Basuan and has always followed him. HMPH, if he really dares to come, Brother Basuan will definitely trample him under his feet. Li Tai said with disdain. That's right, Brother Basuan is ranked 10th on the Hidden Dragon list. Someone on the side agreed. Jong Basuan was silent, but his eyes were fixed on Chen Ling in the distance. At this time, Chen Ling and several others were looking for seats when they suddenly felt an unfriendly look coming from a distance. He slowly turned his head and his eyes met with Jong Basuan's. The two looked at each other in the air, as if sparks were colliding in the air, and the atmosphere was extremely tense. Interesting. Ji Chengge did a great job. Jong Basuan, let me turn you into my reward today. Chen Ling raised the corners of his mouth slightly, revealing a provocative smile. Name: Jong Basuan. Age: 20 years old. Luck level: 6 levels of purple. Luck colors are divided into 9 levels: black, white, yellow, green, blue, purple, red, gold, color, etc. Realm: Yuandong Realm 9th layer. Special physique: prison suppressing body. Kung Fu: Purgatory arrival, hundreds of exercises, wandering dragon shocking spear. Goldfinger: a mysterious stone from the heavens, called Tears of the Void, which can speed up cultivation and nourish the meridians of the limbs. When the body is injured, it can quickly recover from the injury. Comment: a loser who was looked down upon by others at first, was accidentally hit by the Tears of the Void when he was peeing on the top of a mountain, and then rose up. But there was a faint green light flashing above his head. Chen Ling came back to his senses. Jong Basuan's personal information was so interesting. But there was more than just a trace of green light on his head. Sha Xian has been driven more than 100 times, tisk tisk. At this moment, an old man slowly arrived on the duel field, and his appearance attracted everyone's attention. This old man was wearing a Taoist robe and his hair was already gray, but he exuded a majestic and mysterious atmosphere. He is the president of Qinglong University, Huang Daosheng. At the same time, Huang Daosheng was followed by several people. Among them are Vice Principal Chen Lei, who is tall and serious-faced, and Song Rentu, director of the teaching office, who smiles and gives people an amiable feeling. In addition, some instructors from the inner courtyard followed them to the duel field. The students on the balcony all turned their attention to these important figures. They were full of expectation and curiosity, not knowing what would happen next. At this time, Huang Daosheng spoke. Dear classmates, today is the opening ceremony for the freshmen of our Qinglong University. I am your principal Huang Daosheng. His voice was loud and powerful, echoing over the entire duel field. The person standing next to me is Vice Principal Chen Lei. This is Song Rentu, the director of the teaching office, and the others are tutors from the inner courtyard. Huang Daosheng introduced the others around him. After hearing Huang Daosheng's introduction, the students applauded to express their welcome. They were full of respect for the principal and full of expectations for their future study life. Then, Huang Daosheng continued. In order to test the achievements of all students after the college entrance examination, Qinglong University specially held this opening ceremony. I hope that through this event, everyone can better understand their own strength and potential, and at the same time also lay a solid foundation for future learning and growth. Huang Daosheng's words resonated with the students, and they nodded in agreement. They know that only by constantly working hard can they become strong. Let me talk about the duel rules. First of all, no one is allowed to die in a duel between freshmen. Secondly, if a freshman can defeat 100 other freshmen in a row, then he can enter the top 100 of the Hidden Dragon ranking. Name. But it's not enough, because he has to challenge the 100th ranked old student to really get on the list. Huang Daosheng said expressionlessly. Hearing this, the whole square fell silent. Everyone knows what this rule means. If you want to enter the top 100 of the Hidden Dragon list, you must defeat an old student. However, the people present are all freshmen. Who among them dares to challenge those old students easily? After all, the strength and experience of the old students in the college far exceed them. Huang Daosheng seemed to be aware of everyone's nervousness, and continued, of course, if you feel you are strong enough, you can continue to challenge Laosheng on the Qianlong list. But it should be noted that there are no rules restrictions in the battle with Laosheng. In other words, life and death are determined by fate. These words caused the entire audience to fall into silence again, and no one dared to speak easily. Everyone knows in their hearts that challenging Laosheng is undoubtedly an adventure and may even cost them their lives. Therefore, except for Chen Ling and others, no one else dared to try it easily. I announce. The duel begins. Huang Daosheng's voice fell, and he exited the duel field in a flash, and came to the highest overlooking the bottom. At this time, only Song Rentu was left on the duel field. He stood there with a serious look on his face. He was the referee of this duel. The scene was quiet, everyone was silent, no one wanted to take the lead and become the target of public criticism. Chen Ling's gaze swept across the crowd, with a trace of disdain flashing in his eyes. He suddenly jumped up and landed steadily in the center of the duel like a flying bird. "It's the god of death," someone exclaimed in a low voice. "Chen Ling," Jong Basuan said through gritted teeth, his heart filled with resentment and unwillingness. From the highest overlook, Huang Daosheng looked at Chen Ling with an expression of admiration on his face. He turned to Chen Lei and said to him, "Vice Principal, you Chen family members are indeed very courageous. Young people are to be feared." Quote. Chen Lei smiled slightly and responded, "Principal, when you are away from home, the momentum of our Chen family cannot be lost." Xiaoling naturally understands this truth. The corner of Huang Daosheng's mouth twitched slightly, but he didn't say anything more and just looked at the duel field below silently. As for Chen Ling, it's not for the family's momentum. It's a waste of time to fight them one by one. He doesn't have such patience. Chen Ling stood with his hands behind his back, looked around at everyone on the balcony, and said domineeringly, "Today, I, Chen Ling, challenge all the freshmen, come on together. All go. Are you so brave?" Chen Ling is still the same Chen Ling. Song Rentu frowned a little. He had never seen such a situation before, so he could only look at Huang Daosheng. Huang Daosheng smiled and nodded to him. "All go. He's so arrogant. I really can't bear to see him being so pushy. Let's go together. What are you afraid of? After the college entrance examination, my realm has reached the first layer of the God-gathering realm." "That's right, there are so many pulse-condensing realms and God-gathering realms, I'm so scared. The shame in the secret realm must be washed away today." Chen Ling's words caused an uproar, making the overlooking platform noisy, and many people showed angry expressions. Many of these people were the ones who were defeated by Chen Ling in the secret realm last time. They were deeply hostile to Chen Ling, and now that they saw Chen Ling being so arrogant, they were even more angry. "How dare Chen Ling provoke us like this?" someone said through gritted teeth. "Humph, who does he think he is? He wants to challenge all of us." Another person snorted, expressing dissatisfaction. "Even so, he is too arrogant," someone else echoed. However, in the face of everyone's anger, Chen Ling seemed very calm. The corners of his mouth raised slightly, revealing a disdainful smile, as if he didn't care what others thought. "Haha, in that case, let's go together. Let's see who can have the last laugh," someone suggested. "Okay, then let Chen Ling know how powerful we are." Others responded one after another, preparing to fight Chen Ling. For a time, the atmosphere on the overlook was tense. A war is about to break out. After saying that, everyone's mood suddenly rose and they rushed into the duel field, but there were still some people watching from the overlook. Xie Ziqing and others did not move, still watching. HMPH. What a pretense. Even I dare not challenge so many people at once. Who gave him the courage? Jong Basuan mocked. If he had been in the secret realm at that time, he would have known that today is nothing compared to that day. Chen Ling suffers death. Come together. Don't give him a chance to react. A group of people held moves in their hands and swords, and attacked Chen Ling. Boring. Chen Ling stretched out a finger and drew out his blood sword, which continued to divide. Countless blood swords floated around him. Sword energy flew out one after another, and the new students were knocked away several meters away. Chen Ling had to hold back his strength, otherwise, he could turn them into ashes with one blow. When they wanted to get up and attack again, the bloody swords were pointed directly at their throats. They couldn't move. What's going on? Are these freshmen too weak? Yeah, I can't even catch one of Chen Ling's moves. I don't know how he practiced. Haha, there's something exciting to watch now. Chen Ling is really awesome. Everyone was talking a lot, marveling at Chen Ling's strength. The defeated freshmen had faces full of shame and helplessness. They originally thought they were strong enough to challenge Chen Ling, but now they realize that they are still far behind. Admit defeat. If you don't, I'll kill you, Chen Ling said lightly, with a hint of disdain in his tone. His eyes swept over everyone present, as if telling them that he didn't take them seriously at all. This group of freshmen secretly thought, this god of killing really dares to kill us. We admit defeat. Hiss. Not even a minute has passed, and 100 freshmen have given up like this. This is unprecedented. Song Rentu reacted and immediately announced, Chenling Sheng. However, the entire martial arts training ground was completely silent. There were no cheers or applause, only a suffocating sense of depression. The strength shown by Chen Ling was so powerful that it was beyond the reach of everyone. Such talent is unheard of. Your Chen family is so lucky. Huang Daosheng said to Chen Lei with envy on his face. The corners of Chen Lei's mouth raised slightly, revealing a faint smile, but he did not answer. Excuse me, classmate Chen Ling, do you want to challenge for the 100th place on the Hidden Dragon ranking? Song Rentu confirmed to Chen Ling again. Yes, Chen Ling's voice was ordinary. He didn't take these people seriously at all. In his opinion, he and they are not from the same world. Invite Braun, number 100 on the Hidden Dragon list, to come on stage. Song Rentu shouted loudly. Time passed by minute, but Braun did not appear. On the Laosheng overlooking platform, Braun was hiding in a corner, his body trembling, his eyes full of fear. No. I don't want it. If you go, you will definitely die. Woo woo woo. At this time, Song Rentu saw Braun at a glance and shook his head helplessly. Braun surrendered. Chen Ling was promoted to the 100th place on the Hidden Dragon list. As he said that, he looked at Chen Ling. Let's continue. Today we will step on the Hidden Dragon list. Chen Ling looked at Jong Basuan and said. Crazy. All the old students were angry. Number 90 on the Hidden Dragon list, Zhang Erhe came to ask for advice. Zhang Erhe flew into the duel field. Chen Ling curled his fingers. It was true that the Yuan Palace realm was not of much interest to him. You don't even take me seriously. I'll die, Zhang Erhe said and rushed over. Death. Chen Ling uttered one word, waved his hand, and Zhang Erhe instantly exploded into a ball of blood mist. No, he just waved his hand and died. Song Rentu came over, wiped away the blood mist, and said calmly, life or death depends on fate, Chen Ling Sheng. Promote to the 90th place on the Hidden Dragon ranking. Huang Daosheng was shocked and thought to himself, does this kid want to kill all the way through the Hidden Dragon list? If Chen Ling knew what Huang Daosheng was thinking at this moment, he would definitely respond with approval. Hey, you are really good at reading people. At this time, Chen Ling shouted to Director Song with a bored look on his face. Director Song, it's too tedious to fight one by one. Can you please summon everyone from the 91st to the 11th place on the Qianlong list? Since the battle with Godfiend, Chen Ling has found that it is difficult to find a rival among his contemporaries, and no one can bring real pressure to him. His words were not high-pitched, but they were like a heavy hammer, hitting the hearts of everyone on the overlook. Hiss. He actually wants so many people on the Qianlong list to fight together. Don't forget, they are not freshmen. Chen Ling is a 9th layer in the Aperture realm. Do you think he has enough confidence? But, who can be on the Hidden Dragon list, who is not a genius with extraordinary talents? With so many Yuandong realm experts taking action at the same time, he should also feel the pressure, right? Song Rentu listened to Chen Ling's unreasonable request. Although he was a little confused, he still nodded. Please invite the old students from the 91st to the 11th place on the Qianlong list. As Song Rentu finished speaking, the entire campus was in a state of excitement. Not only the old students around Jong Basuan, but also the old students on the list who were practicing in the villa were awakened by this voice. Without any hesitation, they stopped what they were doing and headed straight for the duel. Brother Basuan, this guy is so arrogant. He dares to challenge us old students. Yes, but why did he only choose the 11th place? Is it because he was afraid of Brother Basuan? It goes without saying that he must be afraid of Brother Basuan. Brother Basuan is ranked 10th. Luo Xiaoyang said with certainty. After hearing this, Zhang Basuan raised the corners of his mouth slightly, revealing an imperceptible smile. It's a pity that they don't know Chen Ling's true intention. The reason why Chen Ling chose to start the challenge from number 91 was because he wanted to get rid of these miscellaneous fish first, and then attack the top 10 children of luck one by one. Doing this can be regarded as giving them enough face. Chen Ling stood quietly in the middle of the duel arena with his hands folded, his eyes firm and confident. At this time, silhouettes fell around him as quickly as birds. These people exude a powerful aura and are obviously masters. Who dares to challenge me? Don't you know that I am ranked 60th? Zhou Hao shouted arrogantly, his voice full of disdain and contempt. As he said this, he looked at Song Rentu, who was standing aside, with a trace of questioning flashing in his eyes. When everyone gathered together, Song Rentu asked leisurely, "Classmate Chen Ling, have you really decided to fight so many people at the same time?" Chen Ling did not answer, but nodded silently, indicating that he was ready. Hearing this answer, Zhou Hao showed a puzzled expression on his face. What? There are so many of us and we want to fight one person. Is this kid crazy? At the same time, the news that Chen Ling challenged the Qianlong ranking spread like a gust of wind throughout the outer courtyard. People were talking about this unprecedented battle and were curious about what this new student was capable of. At this moment, 5 figures landed quietly on the overlook. One of them was Xiao Xiao, the 8th in the Qianlong list. She put her hands on her hips and stared at Chen Ling below with wide eyes. She looks very cute, wearing pink double ponytails, denim shorts, pink short sleeves on her upper body, and a bear embroidered on her clothes. Is this kid going to challenge so many people at once? Fu Xiaoxiao frowned and looked at Chen Ling curiously. I heard that this kid is the number 1 pick this year, he should have some skills. Yi Qingchen, the 7th in the Qianlong ranking, said with a smile, his eyes shining with anticipation. I heard that Chen Ling is now at the 9th layer of the Aperture Realm. Ji Ba, the 6th person on the Hidden Dragon ranking, said honestly. What? X5. Everyone was shocked. We are only around the 8th layer 9th layer of the Yuan Palace realm, and that kid is already the Tongqiao realm. And he is still the 9th layer. He must be on drugs. The 9th on the Hidden Dragon list, Dragon Aocean said with envy. Sigh, what you said is wrong. Isn't it possible that the Taoist family is extremely talented? Besides, he is the 4th young master of the Chen family in Tiandu. Don't you know that? Qianlong ranking no. 1-5, Huang Yu waved his fan and took a step forward, like a weak scholar. Several people were silent. They were all obsessed with cultivation. They only knew a little bit about the outside world, but not so comprehensively. They really didn't know that Chen Ling was from the Chen family in Tiandu. On the duel field, Zhou Hao stood impatiently, muttering to himself. He was concentrating on training, but he was woken up abruptly, just to deal with a group of people like this. What do you think of Zhou Hao? HMPH. Everyone, I can easily kill this guy by myself. You just need to watch carefully from the sidelines. Zhou Hao said confidently. The people around him stepped back 10 meters and looked at him with joking eyes. After all, they had just witnessed Chen Ling's powerful strength, and at this moment only Zhou Hao and those who had just arrived were still in the dark. Zhou Hao scratched his head in confusion. Why are you retreating so far? Boy, the Hidden Dragon list is not something that just any cat or dog can challenge. You actually dare to challenge so many people at once. How many lives do you really think you have? Zhou Hao yelled loudly, while staring at Chen Ling closely, expecting to see his expression of fear or fear. However, Chen Ling didn't even look at him, and just said 2 words, silly. Zhou Hao suddenly became furious, and an iron rod suddenly appeared in his hand. How dare you not give me face? Then go to hell. The heaven-shattering stick technique. With the control of Zhou Hao's thoughts, the iron rod quickly grew longer, reaching more than 10 meters in length in the blink of an eye, and hit Chen Ling's head with a fierce momentum. At the same time, Zhou Hao shouted arrogantly, Boy! Remember, I am the one you can never afford to offend in your life. However, just when Zhou Hao thought he was about to succeed, what happened in front of him made his eyes widen with shock. Chen Ling calmly stretched out his 2 fingers and sandwiched the iron rod easily. In an instant, the attack of the iron rod stopped abruptly, as if it was firmly locked by an invisible force. As the iron rod stagnated, the originally ferocious attack energy fluctuations also dissipated, leaving only a dull loud sound, bang. The sound was like a heavy object hitting hard steel, deafening. The iron rod trembled slightly between Chen Ling's fingers, seemingly unable to break free. Zhou Hao looked at all this blankly, with an expression of disbelief on his face, and murmured to himself, how is it possible? He couldn't believe that the seemingly ordinary young man in front of him was so powerful and could easily block his attack. Chen Ling waved his hand casually, and a strong wind roared out, directly deflecting the iron rod. Zhou Hao flew backwards uncontrollably and fell heavily to the ground. Didn't your mother teach you how to be respectful when talking to others? If you use swear words as soon as you start talking, you think I have no temper, right? Chen Ling said coldly. His voice was not loud, but with a kind of irresistible majesty. The murderous aura around him seemed to be real, continuously overflowing, like a powerful aura, covering the entire venue, making people shudder. Zhou Hao was lying on the ground, his whole body was weak and he couldn't move. At this moment, he truly realized that the person in front of him was definitely not someone to be trifled with. No wonder he dared to challenge so many masters at once. However, at this moment, he could no longer speak. It was as if there was an invisible force that tightly sealed his mouth, making it difficult for him to make any sound. Remember, in the next life, don't have such a bad mouth. Chen Ling said coldly, then lightly tapped his finger, and a ray of light flashed through. In an instant, Zhou Hao's body exploded and turned into a cloud of blood mist, splattering all over the floor, and the smell of blood filled the air. Everyone else on the field was trembling with fear, and their faces were ashen. Chen Ling's decisive and ruthless tactics made their legs weak and they did not dare to take another step forward easily. This is too powerful. He can actually kill enemies with one finger, and he is also a strong man in the 5th layer of Yuangong realm. Even Ji Yu Chengge probably can't achieve this kind of strength, Yi Qingchen said with a solemn expression. Although the other 4 people did not speak, it could be seen from their tightly furrowed brows that they were not at peace at the moment. Lost. Huang Daosheng sighed. The instructors in the inner courtyard on the side all looked puzzled. Huang Daosheng then explained. That group of people lost. So many people fought against one, and they were afraid before the war started. As a result, the gap between them and Chen Ling is no longer at the same level. In that case, I'll give you a chance, come together. Either beat me to death, or I'll beat you all to death. Chen Ling offered his bleeding sword and gently picked out a sword flower. However, those people did not dare to move. Their whole bodies were soaked with sweat, as if they had lost the courage to fight. It's a pity that you don't seem to know how to cherish this opportunity. You really deserve the name of genius. Chen Ling shook his head in disappointment, and then the blood sword quickly grew in size and slashed down. Faced with such a powerful move, this group of people knelt down, unable to resist at all. The blood sword was like a blood-red lightning, hitting their bodies instantly. Wherever the blood sword passed, the bodies of these people were broken into pieces and turned into puddles of flesh. The blood stained the entire duel field red, making it look particularly dazzling and bloody. Chen Ling put the blood sword behind his back expressionlessly and stood there quietly, as if what just happened had nothing to do with him. He just waited silently for Song Rintu to announce the results. Chen Lingsheng, promoted to the 11th place on the Qianlong ranking. Song Rintu swallowed hard, his voice trembling slightly. Chen Ling's cruel methods made him feel scared. On the overlook, only a few people including Xie Ziqing were cheering excitedly, while the others were silent. They were shocked by Chen Ling's strength and ruthlessness and were speechless. I can't beat him, Huang Yu said with a serious look and a firm tone. When everyone heard this, they were stunned. Huang Yu is the 5th-ranked master on the Hidden Dragon ranking, and he actually admits that he can't beat Chen Ling. For a moment, everyone fell into silence. They didn't know what to say. Even Huang Yu, who ranked 5th on the Hidden Dragon list, said this, and they couldn't refute it. Perhaps, only Ji Yu Chengge, who is number 1 on the Hidden Dragon list, can defeat Chen Ling. Classmate Chen Ling, do you want to continue the challenge? Song Rentu asked cautiously, for fear of offending Chen Ling. Everyone focused on him, waiting for his answer. Chen Ling slowly raised the blood sword and circled around the overlook. Finally, the blood sword pointed at Jong Basuan on the Laosheng overlook. I want to challenge Jong Basuan, number 10 on the Hidden Dragon ranking. Chen Ling said with a smile. Jong Basuan was shocked when he saw Chen Ling's devilish smile. But in order not to be looked down upon, he flew to the duel field and confronted Chen Ling. Chen Ling, Jong Basuan gritted his teeth. Haha, we finally meet, Jong Basuan. Chen Ling said with a smile. You, Jong Basuan wondered, Did Chen Ling know him before? No need to doubt, I killed Sha Xian. Chen Ling's words were like a sharp sword, thrust into Jong Basuan's heart. In the final analysis, you should thank me for helping you kill 100 knights. Tisk tisk, love is a light, her hair is so green that it shines. After hearing Chen Ling's words, Jong Basuan's face instantly became extremely gloomy, and his eyes were filled with murderous intent. How dare you kill her? Jong Basuan said through gritted teeth, with endless anger and hatred in his voice. The corners of Chen Ling's mouth raised slightly, revealing a sarcastic smile. Why, are you feeling distressed? Unfortunately, she is already dead, but it doesn't matter, you will be with her soon. Jong Basuan clenched his fists tightly and his body was shaking slightly. He could not accept this fact. Chen Ling, today is the day you die. Jong Basuan roared angrily, while releasing a powerful aura, preparing to attack Chen Ling. However, Chen Ling was not afraid at all. Instead, he looked at Jong Basuan provocatively. Come on, let me see how capable you are. As Chen Ling's words fell, the entire duel field was filled with a tense atmosphere, and a life-and-death duel was about to begin. I've given you enough face and self-esteem to let you duel with me alone. How about it? Be impressed. A sneer appeared at the corner of Chen Ling's mouth, and he slowly raised the bloody sword in his hand. No need to say more. Today, either you die or I die. Jong Basuan stared at Chen Ling solemnly, not daring to show any mercy. The spiritual power in his body surged crazily, and he activated the prison suppressor with all his strength, body. Haha, that's exactly what I meant. Chen Ling chuckled, and after the words fell, the Chaos Godfiend body suddenly opened. In an instant, the color of the sky and the earth changed, and strange phenomena appeared in the sky. The blood-colored moonlight illuminated the earth, and the sky was dyed pitch black. From time to time, a few lightning bolts pierced the sky, as if the end was coming. At the same time, Chen Ling's hair instantly turned blood red, and the sword pattern between his eyebrows continued to flash with a strange light. The whole person was floating in the air like a demon, exuding a heart-stopping aura. The faces of Huang Daosheng and others on the overlook changed drastically. They stood up one after another and exclaimed, "This is a physical abnormality. Hiss. This is something that only the holy body can have at least." Chen Lei's face was full of pride. As a member of the Chen family, Chen Ling's talent was better. Seeing Chen Ling showing such terrifying strength at this moment, I felt extremely excited. Chen Ling is no longer on the same level as us. Huang Yu murmured. Fu Xiaoxiao remained silent, but the powerful figure still shocked her. Godfiend is coming. As Chen Ling finished speaking, the Godfiend Law manifestation appeared behind him. The Godfiend Law manifestation is hundreds of meters high, emitting blood-colored light all over its body, like a god of war. Its appearance plunged the entire arena into deathly silence. Everyone's eyes widened and they couldn't believe what they were seeing. Godfiend Law manifestation exudes a strong pressure, as if it is going to tear the entire space apart. Every breath it took caused strong vibrations in the surrounding air, and energy fluctuations continued to spread. Even the audience on the overlook was affected. They felt unprecedented pressure, and some even fainted. Chen Ling. Jong Basuan roared angrily, his voice exploding in the air like thunder. His eyes were full of anger and unwillingness, and he could not accept this fact. Purgatory is coming. Jong Basuan formed a seal with his hands and muttered something. As soon as he finished speaking, the shadow of a huge Taoist platform condensed in his hand. This Taoist platform exudes a black atmosphere and is covered with mysterious runes. It looks eerie and terrifying. The Taoist platform gradually grew larger, until it was 10 meters in size. It was like a giant prison, with countless evil spirits imprisoned inside, which made people shudder. The iron chains on the platform kept sliding and making harsh sounds, as if telling of endless pain and torture. Suppress me. Jong Basuan threw the purgatory in his hand and smashed it straight at Chen Ling. The purgatory drew a black arc in the air and rushed towards Chen Ling with unparalleled momentum. During this period, there were bursts of sonic booms. A small trick. Chen Ling disdained. The blood sword becomes huge. Kill. The blood sword instantly grew larger. Godfiend Law manifestation grasped the blood sword and slashed out with one sword, colliding with purgatory. The red and black light kept flashing. The fluctuations caused by the collision washed away the shield of the duel field. The shield seemed to be cracking. Purgatory began to lose, and was slowly penetrated by the blood sword. Jong Basuan let out a scream. The Purgatory Taoist platform was completely shattered at this moment, turning into fragments scattered all over the sky. A trace of scarlet blood also overflowed from the corner of Jong Basuan's mouth. His body trembled slightly, and his eyes stared closely at the godlike man opposite him. Just when the blood sword was about to penetrate his body, Jong Basuan let out a roar, "Chen Ling! I will not be defeated." The prison-suppressing body, fully activated. This roar seemed to tear the sky apart and was deafening. At the same time, countless resentful spirits roared crazily around Jong Basuan, and their resentment filled the entire space, making people's hair stand on end. However, facing such a terrifying scene, Chen Ling just smiled, showing off the resentful spirits in front of him. Don't you know that the bloody sword in his hand is specially designed to restrain these things? God is going to let you die. Chen Ling's eyebrows wrinkled slightly, and his eyes became dim, like the cold stars in the night. With the powerful aura emitted by the blood sword, those resentful spirits were destroyed one after another and turned into nothingness. Jong Basuan's prison-suppressing body was also suppressed in an instant and was unable to exert its due power. Chen Ling, you will die badly. Jong Basuan's eyes widened, and his eyes seemed to bulge out of his sockets, with a ferocious look on his face. The blood sword penetrated Jong Basuan's body at an astonishing speed, directly piercing his chest, leaving a huge and empty hole, and bright red blood continued to gush out from the wound. Those who are my enemies will either surrender on their knees or die miserably on the spot. There is no other choice. However, the latter is more likely, Chen Ling said indifferently. Jong Basuan lowered his head and asked feebly, I want to know, how Xian died. Chen Ling frowned, and after a moment of silence, he still replied, I crushed her head. Hearing the news, Jong Basuan felt a sharp pain in his chest. He spat out a mouthful of blood and staggered. His voice became weak and hoarse. Even if I become a ghost, I will not let you go. Chen Ling. Chen Ling approached Jong Basuan step by step. The bloody sword in his hand was suspended above Jong Basuan's head, exuding a chilling aura. The corner of his mouth raised slightly, revealing a sarcastic smile. Want to do ghosts? Do you think I will let you do it? I will give you time to catch up, but you will never be able to touch the hem of my clothes. Oh, by the way, they are all going to die, so how can they keep up with me? Chen Ling's tone was full of teasing and contempt. Seize the soul. Exterminate. As Chen Ling finished his last words, the blood sword suddenly burst into light as scarlet as blood, and a terrifying suction force burst out, directly sucking Jong Basuan's soul out of his body. Jong Basuan's soul was horrified, his face full of fear and despair, because he realized that he was about to face complete destruction. He once thought that Chen Ling was just scaring him, but now he realized that all this was true. Chen Ling really wanted to make him unable to become a ghost. He wanted to beg for mercy, but found that he could not speak at all and could only watch his fate being decided. From the blood sword, a group of resentful spirits flew out. They opened their ferocious mouths and began to eat Jong Basuan's soul crazily. Jong Basuan's soul body twisted in pain, trying to break free, but everything was in vain. Finally, Jong Basuan's soul body gradually dissipated until it completely disappeared between heaven and earth. From then on, Jong Basuan was no longer in the world. Chen Lingsheng, promoted to 10th on the Hidden Dragon ranking. Song Rentu swallowed hard and announced with a trembling voice. The whole scene fell into a deathly silence, and no one dared to speak easily. The terrifying methods displayed by Chen Ling made them feel deeply frightened, as if they were seeing a demon from hell. Huang Daosheng frowned tightly and thought to himself, this son is so cruel and murderous. If he harbors resentment towards China, then China will become a hell on earth. Long Aoshan sat on the chair, his body trembling involuntarily, his face as pale as paper. His legs kept shaking, as if he couldn't control his fear. Jong Basuan, who was ranked 10th on the Hidden Dragon ranking, had died tragically, so who would be next? Could it be himself, who was 9th on the Hidden Dragon ranking? This thought made him shudder. Fu Xiaoxiao's cute lowly face lost its previous playfulness, and was replaced by a serious and nervous look. Her eyes were full of anxiety, and her hands were clenched into fists, as if she was trying to control the fear in her heart. Huang Yu also put away the folding fan in his hand, his brows furrowed and his expression solemn. His eyes were fixed on Chen Ling on the duel field, and he was secretly thinking about how to deal with it. The entire scene fell into a dead silence, and everyone turned their attention to Chen Ling in the duel. No one dared to speak out easily for fear of attracting the attention of this murderous god. However, the corners of Chen Ling's mouth raised slightly, revealing a faint smile. "Guys, do you still need me to invite you?" Chen Ling said to Long Aotian and others with a smile. His voice was not loud, but it reached everyone's ears clearly, making people look at him with suspicion. Everyone looked around in confusion, wondering who Chen Ling was talking to. It wasn't until someone followed Chen Ling's gaze that they realized his gaze was falling on the seat above. "It's Long Aotian, who is 9th on the Hidden Dragon list." Someone shouted in surprise. "And the 8th Fu Xiaoxiao." Another person continued. "Yi Qingqian is 7th, Jiba is 6th, and Huang Yu is 5th. More people exclaimed. "I'm going. The god of death is actually targeting them. There's a good show to watch." The students began to talk about it, and their excitement was palpable. They were looking forward to the exciting showdown that was about to take place, and at the same time, they were frightened by Chen Ling's strength. After all, it is not something ordinary people can do to dare to challenge the masters at the top of the Hidden Dragon ranking. Chen Ling looked at Long Aotian and Yi Qingqian and licked his lips. After killing these two sons of luck, the system rewards will definitely be rich. Plus Jong Basuan's rewards. Gee, he couldn't even imagine how strong he would become after absorbing the rewards. Seeing their hesitation, Chen Ling said, "I know I am very strong and I have put great pressure on you, so let's do this. I won't bully you, but give you a chance. Let's go together." Listening to Chen Ling's provocative words, Long Aotian and others clenched their fists. They all had the arrogance of a genius. However, Chen Ling's strength is obvious to all. No one of them can defeat him if he goes up to fight against him. This is a fact. Although it is a bit embarrassing for 5 to fight 1, there is no other way but this. Huang Yu sighed. The 5 of them looked at each other and flew towards the duel field. The 5 people surrounded Chen Ling tightly, and everyone's eyes showed vigilance and caution. "To be honest, I really don't want to kill anyone, but I'm a villain," Chen Ling said to himself, with a hint of helplessness on his face. "Come, beat me. You'd better beat me to death. Otherwise, I'll beat you to death." Chen Ling suddenly raised his head and raised his fingers provocatively at the 5 people around him. After Long Aotian and others heard these words, their faces darkened, and the anger in their hearts was ignited. They felt that they had been underestimated, and a trace of anger flashed in their eyes. Fu Xiaoxiao was the first to launch the attack. She dodged and rushed towards Chen Ling instantly. When she rushed to Chen Ling, she flew up with a kick and hit Chen Ling's head. However, Chen Ling calmly stretched out a hand and blocked the blow easily. "The intensity is too light, are you tickling me?" Chen Ling smiled slightly, his tone full of ridicule. After saying that, Chen Ling grabbed Fu Xiaoxiao's leg with his backhand, swung her hard and slammed her to the ground. There was a loud bang, and a small crater was made on the ground, and Fu Xiaoxiao groaned in pain. "Hey, it's so cruel. Even Lolita is not spared. You are indeed a role model for us." Someone on the balcony could not help but exclaimed. The fists of Long Aotian and Yi Qingqian came straight towards Chen Ling with fierce wind. However, just when their fists were about to hit Chen Ling suddenly stretched out his hands and grabbed their wrists like iron pliers. Then, Chen Ling exerted force and twisted their hands hard. With a muffled groan, Long Aotian and Yi Qingqian both knelt down on the ground. They looked at Chen Ling in astonishment, their eyes full of disbelief. "Are you playing house?" Chen Ling said with a sneer, his tone full of disdain. "This young master is going to take action now." Facing such a weak opponent, Chen Ling felt very bored. An attack of this level is simply child's play and not worth mentioning at all. Long Aotian and Yi Qingqian struggled to break free from Chen Ling's restraints and quickly retreated to Huang Yu's side. Fu Xiaoxiao, on the other hand, climbed out of the small pit with difficulty and also jumped back to his camp. The 5 people looked at each other and nodded to each other. They decided not to reserve their strength and go all out to fight Chen Ling. In an instant, the duel field was shining with colorful spiritual energy. Long Aoshan opened his spirit body, and his body emitted a dazzling golden light. Yi Qingchen displayed a powerful sword move, and the sword energy crisscrossed. Fu Xiaoxiao released purple-red aura, burning like a flame. Jiba's whole body seemed like steel. Not to be outdone, Huang Yu used his most powerful move, preparing to give Chen Ling a fatal blow. However, facing all this, Chen Ling just smiled. He knew that these so-called geniuses were nothing more than a group of ants to him. In order to show respect for them, Chen Ling decided to use his own unique skill, Chaos Annihilation. He took a deep breath, mobilized the spiritual energy in his body, and gathered it between his palms. A terrifying energy condensed in his hand, forming a huge black sphere. As Chen Ling's palm pushed out, the black sphere instantly expanded and turned into a black torrent. As soon as these words were spoken, the entire duel field seemed to be trembling, and a black glow gathered around Chen Ling, and then continued to pour into his eyes. The huge energy filled his eyes, and from time to time a few flashes of lightning passed by. Boom! 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 The bursts of sound were like heartbeats, and with every beat, Chen Ling's pressure became stronger. Similarly, the ultimate moves of Long Aoshan and the 5 others were also successful. They attacked Chen Ling. Wanlong Chaozong. Break the sky with one sword. Purple flame impact. Taishan meteorite falls. The wind is rustling like the sea, and the wind and sea are furious. In the sky, golden dragons appeared one after another, a raging sword light, a bright beam of light with purple flames, a huge rock, and a tornado on the waves. 5 giant dragons roared and rushed toward Chen Ling, and the light emitted from their bodies illuminated the entire duel field. At the same time, a sharp sword light pierced the sky, carrying endless killing intent, followed by a Kongshu beam of light and purple flames, which intertwined to form a gorgeous and colorful picture. The huge rock fell from the sky and hit Chen Ling with a heavy sense of oppression. Finally, the tornado on the waves set off huge waves, as if they were going to swallow everything up. These 5 attacks were launched at the same time, with such majestic momentum that people couldn't help but be shocked. The condensation of chaos and annihilation was completed, and in an instant, Chen Ling's eyes turned into deep black, as if they could swallow all light. 2 black beams of light rushed out from his eyes, carrying endless pressure and destructive power. The moment Long Aoshan and others' attacks collided with these 2 black beams of light, they quietly disintegrated like ice and snow melting. However, the 2 black light pillars were not affected at all, and still maintained their powerful power, galloping towards Long Aoshan and others. The boundless darkness prevented them from seeing clearly everything around them, and there was only darkness in front of them. This darkness feels both bitingly cold and unbearably hot like a burning flame. In the blink of an eye, 2 black beams of light passed through the bodies of Long Aoshan and others at lightning speed. There were no words, not a word of begging for mercy. Everything happened so fast that people didn't even have time to react. In the blink of an eye, Long Aoshan and the other 5 people completely turned into nothingness, leaving not even a trace behind, as if they had never existed. Even their souls were burned out at this moment and disappeared from the world. Everything related to chaos is extremely powerful and mysterious. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully killing 2 level 5 purple sons of luck. The villain's fate has been completely established and the rewards have been distributed. The system's prompt sounded in Chen Ling's mind. Song Rentu didn't know how many times his legs had become weak at this time. He swallowed hard and announced with a trembling voice, Chen Ling wins. Promoted to 5th place on the Hidden Dragon list. Huang Daosheng couldn't sit still anymore and stood up with a look of shock on his face. I'm afraid this attack can threaten the Saint Realm. Vice Principal Chen, your Chen family, you have really cultivated a monster. Ah. Chen Lei raised a smile at the corner of his mouth, and his eyes were full of pride. The principal is serious, it's all Xiao Ling's extraordinary talent. To be honest, Chen Lei never thought that Chen Ling was so powerful. He only knew that Chen Ling was very powerful, but he really didn't know how powerful he was. However, this does not affect his pride. At the same time, in the darkness, a black shadow quickly disappeared. No one noticed this situation, only Chen Ling seemed to be aware of it. Will the black dragon? Chen Ling murmured to himself. Today's battle has come to an end. After all, it is the opening ceremony for freshmen, and we should give Xie Ziqing and the others some opportunities to show off. Without thinking any more, Chen Ling disappeared from the duel field in a flash. After saying hello to Xie Ziqing and the others, he went straight to the villa. And Xie Ziqing and others lived up to expectations and beat these freshmen to their knees. Since there is no one below the 5th place on the list, Xie Ziqing and others successfully climbed onto the Hidden Dragon list. Chapter 51. After returning to the villa, Chen Ling found a quiet place to sit down in the living room, preparing to accept the rewards from the system. He thought to himself, for killing 3 6th level purple level Sons of Luck, the reward should be more generous, right? Thinking of this, he couldn't help but look forward to it. Ding! Congratulations to the host, for killing 3 Sons of Luck. The divine power is monstrous, and the villain's destiny is black and purple. Rewards are being distributed. The system's voice sounded. Ding! Congratulations to the host for receiving X3 Realm Improvement Cards, X1 Supreme Turntable 10 consecutive card drawing coupons, X3 Low-Level Guard Summoning Cards, the Eye of Godfiend, and X1 Subordinate Promotion Coupons. Chen Ling was overjoyed when he heard these rewards. These rewards are very practical, especially the Realm Improvement Cards and Subordinate Improvement Coupons, which can help him improve his strength faster. With a thought, Chen Ling took out the Eye of Godfiend in the system space. These eyes exuded black and white light, carrying a heavy pressure that made people dare not look directly. Vaguely, there was a low divine voice coming from it, full of mystery and power. Immediately afterwards, this mysterious and powerful force began to slowly blend into Chen Ling's eyes, as if it was a kind of sacred baptism. Chen Ling closed his eyes and quietly felt the process of shaping these Godfiend eyes. He could feel a warm feeling coming from his left eye, while his right eye was burning. This strange feeling made him excited and looking forward to it. After a while, Chen Ling opened his eyes suddenly, and at that moment, it seemed as if the whole world was lit up. 2 bright beams of light shot out from his eyes, like the morning light at dawn, directly punching a huge hole in the villa. As the divine light gradually faded away, Chen Ling's eyes became extremely attractive. One of his pupils is golden with a hint of white on the edge, while the other pupil is bright red with a black edge. Such eyes are extraordinary and handsome, just like the naturally different eyes described in a novel in a previous life, full of mystery and charm. By looking at the introduction of the Eyes of Godfiend, Chen Ling finally understood their true function. The Eye of Godfiend can only be formed by having strong Godfiend blood. It is divided into 2 parts, the Divine Eye and the Magic Eye. The Divine Eye has miraculous healing power and can repair any injury, even if it is seriously injured and dying. As long as you give it enough time, you can fully recover. The Evil Eye is full of violent aura, able to absorb everything related to the soul and enhance its own soul. When Chen Ling uses his magic eyes, he can release a domineering aura while exerting mental pressure on his enemies. As long as the enemy's mental power is lower than Chen Ling's, they will be suppressed and unable to move. This discovery made Chen Ling ecstatic. He realized that these Eyes of Godfiend would be a powerful aid to him in future battles. Whether facing enemy attacks or recovering from injuries, he can gain a huge advantage with the Eye of Godfiend. Moreover, the special ability of the Magic Eye will also bring him more tactical choices and combat possibilities. Chen Ling took a deep breath to calm down his excitement. He knew that although the Eye of Godfiend gave him great power, he still needed continuous practice and improvement in order to reach his greatest potential. He decided to use this opportunity to delve deeper into the Eyes of Godfiend's abilities and explore how to best use them. As time went by, Chen Ling gradually mastered how to use the Eye of Godfiend. He learned how to switch between the Divine Eye and the Evil Eye, and how to control their power. Each attempt gave him a deeper understanding of the Eye of Godfiend, and at the same time, his strength was significantly improved. One Divine Eye is used for healing, and one Magic Eye is used for soul suppression. A wonderful configuration. After integrating so many things related to Godfiend, then, am I a human now, or a Godfiend? Chen Ling looked at himself, with doubts rising in his heart, and confusion. However, this doubt was quickly forgotten by him. In the final analysis, cultivation depends on oneself. It doesn't matter what race you are. As long as you are strong enough, you can silence all gossips. Anyone who dares to make him unhappy will be killed directly. In the final analysis, whether it is a human or a godfiend, Chen Ling is always Chen Ling, the unique villain Chen Ling. Thinking of this, Chen Ling suddenly realized, yes, I am a villain. I am destined to crush men from all over the world in the future. He no longer dwelled on the issue of identity, but focused on the realm improvement card in front of him. In the blink of an eye, Chen Ling's cultivation level began to rise at an alarming rate. Daoyijing first layer, Daoyijing second layer, Daoyijing third layer. In the blink of an eye, his cultivation had reached the 9th layer. However, it was not over yet. Chen Ling's body began to fluctuate violently, and the furniture in the villa was crushed to pieces by the powerful energy. The physical body became a saint. His cultivation began to break through. First layer of Saint Realm. The second layer of the Saint Realm, until the third layer of the Saint Realm. It's so terrifying. 3 cultivation improvement cards allowed Chen Ling to break through from the 9th layer of the Aperture Realm to the Saint Realm. If others find out about this, they will only secretly live worse than a dog. At the top of the stairs, a little head poked out. It was Qin Yao. As expected of my man. He has broken through to the Saint Realm at this age. Use the low-level guard summoning card. Following Chen Ling's order, a strange fluctuation suddenly occurred in the villa, and then, 3 figures appeared out of thin air. These 3 figures present a special triangle shape. The 2 people at the back have relatively weak auras, but they are enough to make people feel awe, while the one in the head is completely different. His aura is like that of an ordinary person, which makes people feel awe-inspiring. It is impossible to see through and even more elusive. See you, young master. The 3 of them shouted in unison, kneeling on one knee at the same time, with extremely respectful expressions. Qin Yao on the side opened her eyes wide and looked at what was happening in front of her in shock. The aura exuded by these 3 people was so powerful that it even exceeded her strength in her heyday. According to her estimation, these 3 people are at least powerful in the Heavenly Emperor realm. She couldn't help but have deeper curiosity and doubts about Chen Ling's identity. What is the origin of this man? Chen Ling himself was shocked by the cultivation of these 3 people and couldn't help but gasp. After careful observation, we found that 2 of these 3 people are in the late stage of Heavenly Emperor realm, and one is a super strong person in the middle stage of Divine Emperor realm. As expected of the system, it really did not disappoint me. Products produced by the system must be high-quality products. This is a truth recognized by the entire system industry. Chen Ling sighed secretly in his heart. Then, he calmed down and gave the order to the 3 guards. From now on, the 3 of you must hide in the dark to protect my safety. When you encounter powerful enemies above the Great Sage Realm, you will be responsible for dealing with them. And those minions below the Great Sage Realm will be left to me to practice. Do you understand? Yes, Master. The 3 guards replied in unison, indicating that they accepted the mission. Chen Ling waved his hand, and the 3 of them disappeared instantly, but he could feel the 5 powerful auras in the darkness. After using the Supreme Roulette for 10 consecutive draws, there are no good rewards, only some elixirs, inner Y, and so on. Looking at the last reward, subordinates improve their cards, which can enhance the strength of their subordinates except for the characters rewarded by the system. This reward is quite interesting. Xie Ziqing and the others are still too weak at the moment. In the Yuan Palace realm, they are a bit unable to make it to the stage. Without hesitation, he crushed the coupon, and a few streaks of light disappeared into the villa and went to other places. At the same time, Xie Ziqing and others were practicing, and the stream of light penetrated into their bodies. He frowned, his level was rising. In the blink of an eye, he broke through to the Orifice realm. But the energy has not weakened yet, all the way to the Dao First realm. They were all a little confused, but in their minds, Chen Ling's voice sounded, "Don't panic. This is just a small trick of mine and will not cause damage to your foundation." When several people heard this, they realized it, but their shock did not diminish. As expected of Mr. Ling, his methods are all powerful. Ji family, Ji Chengge, as Chen Ling's slave, naturally broke through to the Tongqiao realm. After hearing Chen Ling's voice, he became even more loyal. "Master, I will definitely become the most capable horse dog under your command." During this period of time, Chen Ling and Qin Yao were in the villa almost every day. However, They did not know that an uproar was quietly rising in Qinglong University and other universities. All this stems from Chen Ling's previous crazy killing behavior. His name was like a bomb, causing a huge sensation inside and outside the campus. People's fear and awe of him became stronger and stronger, and some people even rumored, "I would rather offend anyone than Chen Ling." This sentence is not groundless, because there are only two consequences for provoking Chen Ling: either surrender to him or die. According to common sense, Chen Ling ranked 5th on the Qianlong ranking with his outstanding strength, so he should be eligible to enter the inner courtyard for further study. But strangely, there has been no news about him entering the inner court. In fact, this issue has already been discussed heatedly in the inner court. In the end, the instructors of the inner court reached a consensus: Chen Ling must not be allowed to enter the inner court. Because they knew that if Chen Ling joined the inner court, the geniuses of Qinglong University would suffer heavy losses. Indeed, Chen Ling seems destined to be a companion of killing. So far, the number of people who have died in his hands is far from enough. There will be more bloody battles waiting for him in the future. Moreover, Chen Ling is a person who is unwilling to accept control. Do you want his mentor to teach him how to practice? How is that possible? Maybe, if the instructor's teaching is not good, Chen Ling will say, "I have a question. Tutor, can I kill someone?" Just after an intense workout with Qin Yao, Chen Ling took a cold shower, wore a bathrobe, and sat on the sofa. Outside the villa, a group of men in black gathered here like ghosts. Their faces were stern, their eyes were as sharp as falcons, and they exuded a heart-stopping aura. One of them whispered, "This Chen Ling is not simple. Everyone, please pay attention." There was a hint of solemnity and vigilance in his tone. Another person responded confidently, "Don't worry. This time we have 20 holy king realms coming. A great holy realm. I don't believe he can still survive this time." His words revealed his excitement for this time. Absolute confidence in the mission. However, the leader frowned and said in a deep voice, "Don't take it lightly, take action. Otherwise, when those old guys from Qinglong University find out, there will be some trouble." After that, a group of people sneaked into the villa quietly, their movements light and agile, as if they blended into the night. In fact, Chen Ling had already noticed their presence when this group of people were still outside the villa. The 5 guards had already silently destroyed the great saint realm hidden in the void, showing their astonishing strength. "Everyone, come as soon as you come, why hide your head and show your tail?" Chen Ling raised the corners of his mouth slightly, poured himself a glass of red wine, then sat elegantly on the sofa, gently shook the red wine glass in his hand, and looked at the people in front of him indifferently. 20 men in black. As his words fell, 20 figures gradually emerged, forming a circle that tightly surrounded Chen Ling. Their eyes were cold and full of killing intent. "The Black Dragon Society sent people like you. I'm a little disappointed." Chen Ling frowned slightly, with a hint of disdain between his eyebrows. "Young Master Chen, do you think that 20 Saint King realms can't defeat you?" The leader stood up and said in a low voice. Chen Ling smiled slightly and said, "That's not necessarily the case." Just when they were about to take action, Chen Ling suddenly stood up, gently put down the wine glass in his hand, and said calmly, "Give me a face, go out and fight, don't damage my villa." Hearing this, the group of men in black looked at each other, a trace of doubt flashed in their eyes, but they still nodded, indicating that they agreed to Chen Ling's request. Chen Ling raised the corners of his mouth slightly, took out a set of gorgeous clothes from the universe ring, and quickly put them on. His figure flashed and disappeared in the villa instantly. When the men in black saw this, they followed closely. Outside the villa, as soon as the people in black came out, they attacked Chen Ling without hesitation. 20 Saint King realm powerhouses attacked at the same time, and their power gathered together to form a powerful momentum, as if they were going to tear the entire world apart. This power is extremely terrifying. If it were anyone else, it would have been reduced to ashes. However, facing such a powerful offensive, Chen Ling just smiled faintly and easily avoided the opponent's attack. He said mockingly, "You are so cautious, you actually sent 20 Saint King realm experts to deal with one of my students. It seems that your Black Dragon Club really takes me seriously." Chen Ling's words made the faces of the men in black change slightly. They did not expect that Chen Ling could avoid their attacks so easily. But they did not back down, but continued to launch a more violent offensive, trying to defeat Chen Ling. King the world. Chen Ling's face gradually turned cold, and a huge eye seemed to appear behind him. The darkness, violence, huge spiritual power is pressing towards the 20 Saint King realms. In an instant, their bodies stagnated in place, unable to move. When it comes to mental power, Chen Ling can be said to be invincible under the great sage. Tisk, tisk, come on, come on. Chen Ling walked over and patted one of them on the face. How can you be so strong? We are 20 Saint King realms. You, the man said in fear. Chen Ling took back his palm and said, your Black Dragon Society's sources of information are really rubbish. You don't even know that I have broken through to the Saint realm. Trash. As soon as these words came out, all the people in black were shocked. Nah. Not long ago, you were in the Aperture realm. Are you telling me that you have broken through to the Saint realm now? Also, I am known as the King of Prodigies. In order to live up to this title, I cross borders to kill enemies, is it normal? Chen Ling laughed. So, please go die. Oh, by the way, it's real death. The kind without souls. After Chen Ling said that, the magic eye released a vortex, constantly tearing at their souls. In an instant, all 20 souls were absorbed, leaving only 20 dull bodies. He summoned the heavenly demon mosquito and sucked up all their essence and blood. He roared a few times with satisfaction and returned to Chen Ling's chest. With a wave of his hand, all the corpses were turned into ashes. Huang Daosheng in the dark naturally saw this scene. He is not hostile, so Chen Ling's guards will naturally not kill him. The 18-year-old Saint King realm killed 20 Saint King realms with one strike. The sky has changed, Huang Daosheng said solemnly. Chen Ling returned to the villa. The Black Dragon Society. Has come to provoke me again and again, it should be destroyed. Huang Daosheng sat in the principal's office, frowning slightly, thinking secretly in his heart. After careful consideration, he decided to report the matter to the relevant departments. After all, 20 Saint King realm masters sneaked into Qinglong University silently, so they must not be taken lightly. Otherwise, once these people have bad intentions against China, the consequences will be disastrous. Therefore, timely action must be taken to prevent problems before they occur. Thinking of this, Huang Daosheng no longer hesitated, picked up his mobile phone and dialed a number. Hey, Commander of Security. A deep voice came from the other end of the phone. Oh. Principal Huang, you are such a rare visitor. I wonder what you want from me. As he spoke, Wei An lit a cigarette. Huang Daosheng replied in a serious tone. Today, 20 Saint King realms sneaked into our Qinglong University. They tried to assassinate Chen Ling, but the specific purpose is still unclear. After speaking, Huang Daosheng quietly waited for the other party's response. There was silence on the other end of the phone for a while, and then a surprised voice came. What? 20 Saint King realms. Wei An's eyes widened, with an expression of disbelief on his face. He sat blankly on the chair, the cigarette in his hand kept burning, but he didn't notice it at all. He didn't come back to his senses until the cigarette butt burned his fingers. Commander of Guard Security. Commander of Guard Security. Huang Daosheng asked in confusion as a voice that had not been heard for a long time came. Wei An coughed twice, finally came to his senses, and immediately realized the seriousness of the matter. I will report this to the minister. By the way, is Chen Ling okay? Huang Daosheng exhaled and said solemnly, this is what I want to say most. Chen Ling is now in the Saint realm. He has destroyed 20 Saint King realms in a row. Effortlessly. When Wei An heard this, his eyes widened and he almost choked on his saliva. What did you say? This is what I have seen with my own eyes. But what worries me the most is whether Chen Ling's decisive character will aim his blade at the whole of China in the future. Huang Daosheng said worriedly, his eyebrows furrowed tightly. Together. It's a good thing to kill decisively, but you're afraid of killing people on sight. This guy is a little too evil. Wei An walked to the window and looked at the huge city at his feet. His eyes revealed deep worry and uneasiness, as if he had seen changes that might happen in the future. After hanging up the phone, Wei An did not dare to delay at all, ran to the minister's office as quickly as possible, and reported the situation to the minister Yi Nanshan in detail. Yi Nanshan listened quietly to the whole incident, frowned, and said thoughtfully, if you want to figure out the cause and effect of this incident, you must invite Chen Ling here. But his identity is really a headache. Wei Yan gritted his teeth and said, Minister, there is really no other way. We can only bite the bullet and invite him. Moreover, this is also a good opportunity to test his attitude towards China. Yi Nanshan thought for a moment, clenched his fists vigorously, and said resolutely, okay, then send someone to ask him. If anything goes wrong, I will take responsibility. At the same time, in the villa of Qinglong University, Chen Ling was happily playing a game of chicken with Qin Yao. When Qin Yao swallowed the last bite of food, Chen Ling finally breathed a sigh of relief. At this time, his thoughts gradually drifted away and he began to think about things related to the Black Dragon Society. The Black Dragon Society is a mysterious and powerful organization whose headquarters is unknown. It is said that it is rooted in an unknown corner abroad, but its power spreads all over the world and has many branches. Judging from these two assassinations, the Black Dragon Society is very strong. Saint Realm and Saint King Realm can be sent casually, and there is a high probability that there will be a strong one from the Great Emperor Realm. Moreover, their members are from different countries, a mixed bag of good and bad, and they often hunt down geniuses from all over the world. They are simply a typical anti-social organization. This is the information that Chen Ling has learned so far. He immediately called out the 18 Godfiend elders and solemnly ordered, look for all the Black Dragon Guild branches in China and destroy them all for me. Headed by Godfiend Huan, the 18 people bowed their hands respectfully, and then quickly disappear. At the same time, outside the villa, Huang Daosheng led the people from the spiritual department to come here. They stood at the door, and Huang Daosheng pressed the doorbell himself. When Chen Ling heard the doorbell, he felt a little confused, but he still walked over and opened the door. When he saw Huang Daosheng, he became even more confused. Huang Daosheng showed an amiable smile on his face and said enthusiastically to Chen Ling, hello, classmate Chen Ling. Chen Ling had a question mark on his face and muttered to himself, why is this old man here? Is he trying to trouble me? Seeing Huang Daosheng's smiling face, Chen Ling felt a chill and thought, this old man smiles so weirdly, something must be up to him. Huang Daosheng turned sideways, and Wei Yan took a step forward. With a faint smile on his face, he looked at Chen Ling and said, classmate Chen Ling, we meet again. Chen Ling looked at Huang Daosheng, then at Wei Yan and the group of people behind him. He was confused and said in a deep voice, Commander Wei, what are you? Haha, I have something that I would like to ask Chen Ling to go to the spiritual department to find out about. You must know about the Black Dragon Society, right? Wei Yan said with a smile. Chen Ling Yi asked pointedly, then I wonder if Commander Wei will invite people or arrest them. Wei Yan stepped forward and patted Chen Ling on the shoulder and said with a smile, of course I'm invited. After all, Chen Ling has not committed any crime. The corners of Chen Ling's mouth raised slightly, revealing an imperceptible sneer. Then please allow me to make a call. Chen Ling said calmly. Okay. After Chen Ling finished speaking, he took out his mobile phone in front of them and dialed Lin Shinru's number. Hey, Mom, I'm visiting the Ministry of Spirits, don't worry. After hanging up the phone, Wei Yan said bravely, classmate Chen Ling, can you go? Chen Ling nodded and got into the Maibach. At the same time, at the Chen family in Tiandu, after hanging up the phone from Chen Ling, Ruby Lin found Chen Tianao and told him everything about it. After listening to Lin Shinru's narration, Chen Tianao's face became gloomy, and his eyes shone with a sharp light. The Ministry of Spirit is using the Black Dragon Society as an excuse to find out about Ling Er. Chen Tianao murmured to himself. Ruby Lin snorted coldly and said firmly, humph. If they dare to touch my son, I will never let them go. Her eyes were full of anger and determination. Chen Tianao frowned, thought for a moment and then said, their spiritual department doesn't have the guts yet. They are just a bunch of dogs that rely on my Chen family for food. Come on, let's go. After saying that, he stood up and prepared to set off. In the interrogation room of the spiritual department, a group of people, led by Wei Yan, sat side by side and looked ahead with serious expressions. Chen Ling was sitting on an iron stool with a table in front of him, and there were iron chains and some torture instruments on it. At this time, Wei Yan came over, picked up the chain on the table, and put it on Chen Ling's hand. He smiled and said, Master Chen Ling, this is a normal procedure, you should understand it, right? Chen Ling raised his head, squinted his eyes, and sneered, I understand, of course I understand. Guard security walked back and sat down, while the recorder next to him turned on the computer to prepare for recording. In the monitoring room, Yi Nanshan was crossing his legs, drinking tea, and looking at Chen Ling on the screen leisurely, seemingly interested in his reaction. In the interrogation room, a member of the spiritual department asked, why did the Black Dragon Society want to assassinate you? Master Chen Ling. Wei An held his hands and waited quietly for his answer. Chen Ling was completely speechless, wondering how these people could ask such stupid questions. How do I know why he wanted to assassinate me? Your question is really retarded. Then why did your mother give birth to you? Why did you eat and poop? Why the hell did you ask me? Chen Ling directed his fire. Fully opened, he asked fiercely. The person who just spoke was speechless, his face turned red and white, and finally he could only lower his head angrily, not daring to look at Chen Ling again. Wei An looked at this scene and shook his head helplessly. But now is not the time to worry about these things, let's settle the business first. So he stood up, walked to Chen Ling, and said solemnly, according to what we know, because your talent is so incredible, the Black Dragon Society wants to strangle you in the cradle. Quote. Hearing this, Chen Ling nodded slightly and agreed. After all, a genius like him will pose a huge threat to the enemy once he grows up. And those hostile forces will naturally not sit idly by and do nothing, and will definitely try their best to get rid of him. Let's put this matter aside for now. I have another question to ask Mr. Chen. Wei An said, standing up, putting his hands on the table, and staring at Chen Ling closely. Chen Ling nodded indifferently, indicating that he could ask questions. For him, as long as the other party does not deliberately seek trouble, he can accept it. Moreover, he also wanted to hear what Wei An wanted to ask. I wonder if you care about China. Or, in other words, whether you will intend to subvert the entire China in the future. Wei An leaned forward and stared directly at Chen Ling. The corners of Chen Ling's mouth raised slightly, revealing an expression that was half a smile but not a smile. He finally understood the true intentions of these people. These people are almost the same as the Black Dragon Society, worried that he will threaten China in the future. They were afraid that he would become a threat, so they tried to prevent his development. However, Chen Ling disagreed in his heart. Although he didn't express it clearly, he did have such thoughts deep in his heart. He thought that he might become an enemy of China, because most of the children of destiny came from China. If he wanted to kill them to get rewards, then becoming an enemy of China would be the inevitable result. If no one comes to provoke me, I won't have this idea. But, you can't control the showdown between peers, right? Chen Ling raised his eyebrows, with a hint of provocation in his tone. Hearing Chen Ling's words, Yi Nanshan in the monitoring room frowned and fell into deep thought. He realized that Chen Ling's answer was full of profound meaning. If Chen Ling kills his peers, and the older generation comes to look for trouble, and then is killed by Chen Ling, this will form a vicious cycle. In this case, China will face a huge crisis. Wei An looked at Chen Ling's indifferent attitude. He slammed the table and said loudly, do you think it's fun to kill people? Those are the geniuses of China. More than 5 million people. Wei An became more and more excited as he spoke, his voice trembling, they are all the future and hope of our country. They were killed mercilessly by you like this. How could you do it? Chen Ling listened quietly without any expression on his face. After Wei An finished speaking, he slowly spoke. But, before entering the secret realm, I asked Mu Chengfeng if it was allowed to kill people. You should have heard it from the side, right? Wei An was stunned for a moment, thinking of the scene at that time, feeling annoyed in his heart. But he still argued forcefully. Even if you can kill people, you can't kill them so wantonly. This is simply insane. Chen Ling's eyes became cold, and he said in a cold tone, killing may not be right. But, this is the way I go. The way to kill. Anyone who dares to block my way, I will kill. Including. You. Wei An was shocked by Chen Ling's momentum and was speechless for a moment, not knowing how to refute. Chen Ling continued. In this world, the weak eat the strong and the fittest survive. Only the strong can dominate everything, while the weak can only be eliminated. I will not change my behavior because of other people's opinions. I will only follow my own rules. act according to one's will. Wei An's face turned pale, and he realized that he might not be able to convince Chen Ling. Chen Ling raised the iron chain in his hand and said coldly, "The so-called inviting me to ask questions is your way of hospitality. I finally realized it today." Wei An's face turned red and he smiled awkwardly. "Yi Nanshan, get out." A roar came, the sound exploded like thunder, resounding throughout the entire spiritual department, making everyone feel a powerful pressure. At this time, Yi Nanshan, who was in the monitoring room, changed his face when he heard this voice, and exclaimed, "Why are the Chen family people here?" He knew the strength and background of the Chen family, and in his heart I couldn't help but feel a surge of panic. Wei An's expression on the side also became ugly. He stared at Chen Ling, remembering the phone call he made before, and suddenly understood everything in his heart. Seeing this, Chen Ling raised the corners of his mouth slightly, showing a proud smile, and said to Wei An, "Commander Wei, don't look at me like this. I'm so scared." After saying that, he deliberately pretended to be scared, and then burst into laughter. "I say it again. Get out." Chen Tianao roared again, his voice echoing like thunder over the spiritual department. However, Yi Nanshan still made no move and seemed not to come out. Seeing this scene, Chen Tianao finally lost his patience. He raised one hand, and a huge phantom of his palm appeared. Then he grabbed hard, and saw that the roof of the entire spiritual department was easily lifted by him. As the roof was lifted off, the situation inside the spiritual department was exposed. When everyone saw Chen Ling being handcuffed with chains, they were instantly angry. Chen Tianao was even more furious. He swung the lifted roof towards Yi Nanshan with a powerful wave, and at the same time shouted loudly, "Yi Nanshan, you are looking for death." Facing the rooftop flying towards him, Yi Nanshan did not dare to neglect, and quickly released the cultivation of the Holy King realm, stretching out his hands to hold against the rooftop. "Master Chen, I have something to say," Yi Nanshan shouted anxiously while resisting the roof. "HMPH, do you have something to say? How dare you treat my son like this? I'm afraid you have forgotten that your spirit is just a dog of my Chen family. The same goes for you, Yi Nanshan. Could it be that you ate too much and wanted to turn over and eat your master?" "All right." Chen Tianao stood with his hands behind his hands, staring at Yi Nanshan coldly with eyes like a torch. A group of people from the Chen family also gathered around, glaring angrily, as if they wanted to eat these people alive. A thin layer of sweat appeared on Yi Nanshan's forehead, his face was as pale as paper, and he felt anxious and uneasy. He quickly raised his hands and said, "I don't dare." As he said that, he waved his hand to his subordinates to untie Chen Ling's body. Chen Ling turned back and bared his teeth at Wei An, with a proud smile on his face and said, "Commander Wei, if you want to be a dog, you must have the consciousness of being a dog." After saying that, he flashed and came to Chen Tianao's side, calling respectfully, "Dad." Chen Tianao nodded slightly, with concern in his eyes, and asked, "They didn't make things difficult for you, did they?" Chen Ling shook his head and said that he was not harmed. Yi Nanshan was overjoyed and secretly relieved, thinking that Chen Ling would not pursue the matter again. However, at this moment, Chen Ling suddenly said, "But I think they are unhappy. I can let anyone go today, but, him." As he spoke, he pointed at Wei An with a twinkle in his eye. With cold killing intent. Everyone in the Chen family focused on Wei An. "Minister Yi, I want to take this person away today. Please come to my Chen family as a guest. Do you have any objections?" Chen Ling said casually. Yi Nanshan looked at Chen Ling and the Chen family behind him, with cold sweat breaking out on his forehead. He naturally knew that this was just a show of force. If he dared to say no, the Chen family would kill their entire spiritual department without hesitation. Thinking of this, Yi Nanshan could only smile bitterly to himself. No objection. Hearing this, Wei An's eyes widened, he looked at Yi Nanshan in disbelief, and said to himself, "Didn't I agree that you will be responsible for everything? I will let your spirit department go today. Remember, if you are a disloyal dog, our Chen family can break the dog's legs at any time." After Chen Tianao finished speaking, he waved his hand and disappeared into the sky with Wei An and everyone in the Chen family. After the Chen family and others left, Yi Nanshan breathed a sigh of relief, but his face was extremely gloomy. At this time, a young girl asked cautiously, Minister. Commander Wei, he. Yi Nanshan glared at her and said in a cold tone, silence. From now on, there will be no Wei in the spiritual department. Everyone else understood the meaning of this sentence and trembled all over. Chen's house, in the basement. Wei opened his eyes drowsily, his head hurting as if it was going to explode. He struggled to adapt to the darkness around him, and the first thing that caught his eye was a pair of shiny leather shoes. The leather shoes reflected the faint light, making him squint his eyes. Then, there was a face that he would never forget, Chen Ling. Chen Ling's cold eyes were like the cold moon on a cold night, cold and ruthless. He stood there like an unshakable sculpture. Garden looked around and found that he was tied to a huge cross with iron chains and could not move his limbs. He tried to struggle, but the chains restrained him tightly, making a harsh friction sound. Despite being in such a predicament, Guardforce did not show too much panic. On the contrary, he kept a calm tone and asked Chen Ling, Mr. Chen, what do you mean? Chen Ling slowly pulled up a chair and sat down, crossed his legs, and then took out a pack of cigarettes and a lighter from his pocket. He lit a cigarette skillfully and took a deep breath. The strong smell of smoke instantly filled the whole room, making Chen Ling cough uncontrollably. Ahem, sure enough, I'm still not suitable for smoking. Chen Ling murmured to himself, raising the corners of his mouth slightly, revealing a wry smile. However, he did not put out the cigarette in his hand, but continued to smoke quietly. Amid the smoke, his expression became increasingly mysterious. Wei stared at the uncertain young man in front of him, feeling a strong uneasiness in his heart. He had never seen Chen Ling like this. The usually calm and decisive Chen Ling seemed to have disappeared, replaced by an unpredictable stranger. Mr. Chen, are you listening to me? Wei raised his voice again, trying to attract Chen Ling's attention. However, Chen Ling just sat there quietly, staring at Wei through the smoke without saying a word. Chen Ling was slightly startled, then he picked his ears with his little finger and said disdainfully, I'm not deaf yet. Then, he turned his gaze to Wei with a faint smile on his face. This time, I invite Commander Wei to come to my Chen family as a guest. How about it? The environment is not bad. As he spoke, Chen Ling slowly spread his hands and spoke in a relaxed and natural tone, as if he was really just inviting the other party to be a guest. However, the surrounding scenes made people shudder. The red-hot molten iron exuded a fiery aura, the cold torture instruments exuded a gloomy chill, and the dark red blood on the ground seemed to have dried for a long time, exuding a stinging the smell of blood in the nose. Wei swallowed hard, his breathing gradually became heavier, and a thin layer of sweat appeared on his forehead. He looked at Chen Ling with wide eyes, and his voice was trembling. Chen. Mr. Chen, are you kidding me? Is this a good environment? I only get a few spiritual stones a month as salary, you, just don't play around me. Chen Ling shook his head, with a playful look in his eyes. Commander Wei, what nonsense are you talking about? I don't seem to have done anything to you. How can you wrongly accuse a good person? Wei glared at Chen Ling fiercely, his eyes full of helplessness and anger, as if to say, you know it in your heart. I invite you to my Chen family. I want you to experience the hospitality of my Chen family. Later, I will let you taste the feeling of iron chains being burned red. Chen Ling's face gradually turned cold. He stood down, a trace of cruelty flashed in his eyes. After Wei heard this, his body couldn't help but tremble, and he began to struggle desperately, trying to break free from the shackles of the iron chain. However, his cultivation has been banned. At this moment, he is just like an ordinary person, unable to shake the strong iron chain. Chen Ling slowly stood up and glanced at the pile of torture instruments, finally stopping on one of the scalpels. He stretched out his hand and gently picked up the scalpel, feeling its coldness and sharpness. This scalpel shimmered with cold light, as if telling people that it had experienced countless bloody baptisms. At this moment, it was about to become a tool in Chen Ling's hands to deal with the poor man in front of him. Chen Ling slowly walked up to Wei, the scalpel looking particularly dazzling under the light of the fire. He gently placed the scalpel on Wei-An's face, and the blade was close to the skin, making Wei-An feel a biting chill. I am a person who never likes to provoke others, unless it is a task or related to the Son of Destiny. Chen Ling said to himself, his voice was so calm that it was scary. However, Wei An couldn't understand what he was talking about at all. He just felt that his life was in extreme danger. Fear occupied his mind, and he could only wait for the judgment of fate while trembling. You are very brave. You invited me as a guest and tied my hand with an iron chain. To be honest, I never received this kind of treatment when I licked Lu Ruyan before. Chen Ling said, using a scalpel to protect her and wiped it on her face. Wei An widened his eyes, looked at the scalpel in Chen Ling's hand in horror, and said tremblingly, Chen Ling, you can't do this to me. We are all Chinese. A sneer appeared at the corner of Chen Ling's mouth, and a fierce look flashed in his eyes. Chinese. Ha, do you think I will care about this? His voice was cold and ruthless, like a demon from hell. I am a person who has always held grudges and was very selfish. What I want must be mine. As a human being, you can live as you please. What are you trying to do with a few spiritual stones a month? After Chen Ling finished speaking, he gently opened Wei An's arm. The sharp scalpel easily cut through Wei An's skin and muscles, making a crisp sound. Wei An's eyes widened and he looked at his arm in disbelief. He even forgot about the pain, and there was only fear and despair in his heart. The piece of meat seemed to be separated from the bone, the cut was smooth, and there was no blood at first, but later, it seeped out bit by bit. Bright red blood gushed out from the wound, flowed down the arm, and dripped onto the ground, forming a pool of blood. For a moment, Wei An didn't even react. It wasn't until the pain hit him that his shrill voice came. Ah! Wei An screamed in pain, his body twitched involuntarily, and large beads of sweat appeared on his forehead. You have to die. Chen Ling. Wei An gritted his teeth and roared. His eyes were full of hatred and anger, but even more so, fear. I don't want to die. Ha ha ha, what a joke. Look at those people who are more sinister than me. Which of them died? Chen Ling looked up to the sky and laughed. His laughter was full of ridicule and disdain, as if he was mocking Wei An's innocence and ignorance. Don't talk to me about fairness and justice. I only know that the weak will eat the strong and the fittest will survive. Chen Ling's eyes became cold and ruthless. He stared at Wei An closely, with a light called ambition shining in his eyes. This kind of light makes people shudder, as if he has seen everything through and no longer believes in so-called morality and justice. Wei Jing looked at Chen Ling's eyes quietly. He found that there was no desire in this man's eyes, but only a deep indifference and desire for strength. This indifference frightened him because he didn't know how many bottom lines this person could break. Suddenly, a sharp dagger appeared in Chen Ling's hand. He slowly walked towards Wei An, with a cruel smile on his lips. Come, I'll give you a manicure. Chen Ling's voice was bone-chilling, like a demon from hell. Wei An looked at the dagger in Chen Ling's hand in horror, feeling despair in his heart. He struggled desperately, but his body was restrained and unable to move. Ah! Ah! Accompanied by two shrill screams, Chen Ling forcibly cut off the nails of Wei An's fingers, and blood flowed from the fingertips, staining the ground red. Chen Ling looked at Wei An's painful expression with a satisfied smile on his face. He seemed to enjoy this tormenting feeling and continued to use the dagger to scratch scars on Wei An's body. You said that if you cut off the cooked meat and throw it to the dog, will it eat it? Chen Ling's tone contained a hint of joking, and his eyes fell on a wound on Wei An's body. The skin has been burned, showing a ferocious red color. Wei An's face was as pale as paper. He stared at Chen Ling with his eyes wide open, his eyes full of anger and fear. Chen Ling's smile became more and more proud, and his hand gently stroked Wei An's cheek, as if he was admiring a piece of art. I will peel you off, leaving only a skeleton. Chen Ling's voice was low and hoarse, full of threats. Ah, beast, no! Wei An let out a desperate scream. His body was shaking violently, and his eyes were full of fear and helplessness. Chen Ling wiped his hands, casually threw the scalpel into the pile of torture instruments, turned around and walked out of the basement. Behind him, there was only blood flowing on the ground, a skeleton, and the heart still beating weakly in the chest. Chen Ling said goodbye to his parents and returned to Qinglong University again. As they parted, Chen Tianao and Lin Xinru looked at their sons retreating back, feeling an indescribable complex emotion in their hearts. There was a look of relief and worry in their eyes. This child seems to have changed since he went to Heishi No. 1 middle school. He makes me feel a little strange. Lin Shinru said softly, with a hint of worry in her tone. She frowned tightly, her eyes showing worry about her son's changes. Shinru, if a person is not ruthless, he will not be able to stand firm. He will eventually grow up. The strong man will be killed. The great age is coming. Those people will also wake up. Chen Tianao said comfortingly. He patted his wife on the shoulder, his voice low and firm. He knew that his son was going through a transformation. The world was full of competition and challenges, and only by constantly experiencing these could he gain a firm foothold. I can feel that Linger has already broken through to the Saint Realm. Perhaps, in a short time, he will set foot outside the Blue Star. There is not much time left. Cherish the days when he is still here. Chen Tianao murmured. He murmured to himself, a trace of firmness and determination flashing in his eyes. In the Presbyterian church, the atmosphere was solemn and depressing. Chen Wanjin was absent, and the other 4 elders sat around with serious expressions. Xin Zheng was the first to break the silence, with obvious dissatisfaction in his tone. First elder, you have to find a way. The Chen family is so arrogant. They even dare to knock off the roof of the spiritual department. The first elder clasped his hands tightly and placed them on the table. After thinking for a while, he slowly said, Chen Wanjin is right. It is indeed the Chen family that gave us our current status. Everyone fell into silence. However, I am really not willing to succumb to others. The first elder spoke again, his eyes as bright as a torch. The other 3 elders nodded in agreement. I heard that the Black Dragon Society took 2 actions in a row, but they still failed to get rid of that young man from the Chen family. The first elder suddenly changed the subject. Xin Zheng responded angrily. The Chen family must have sent experts to protect him. There is at least one powerful person in the Great Saint Realm. Maybe even more. But, doesn't the Chen family only have the Great Saint Realm Chenjiani? The 4th elder asked doubtfully. He seemed to have difficulty accepting this fact. Haha, do you really believe it? The Chen family can firmly maintain its position as the strongest family in China. Do you think there is only one Great Saint Realm? Xin Zheng sneered and mocked, with a trace of disdain and contempt in his eyes. Everyone here is a late Saint King realm. Although they are already very powerful in front of ordinary people, they are still not worth mentioning in front of the Chen family, the first elder explained solemnly, with a heavy tone in his tone. With deep helplessness and worry. There is only one way so far. That is, to unite with other countries, to destroy the Chen family. Xin Zheng said through gritted teeth, his eyes shining with determination, as if he was determined to fight to the death with the Chen family. However, the elders know very well that the powerful people above the great sage realm of China are almost monopolized by the Chen family. They have no other background to rely on and cannot get support from other forces. This puts them in a desperate situation, feeling unprecedented pressure and helplessness. This will be charged with betraying the country and seeking glory. These people will not recognize it. What's the point in the end? The 5th elder retorted excitedly, his voice full of anger and dissatisfaction. He believed that doing so would not only bring them infamy, but also lose public support, making the entire plan meaningless. This is the most perfect way at the moment. The great age has come. All the existences above the great emperor realm have recovered, and we can only rely on other countries. Only then can we turn this game around. The first elder's voice echoed in the conference room, with a hint of determination and helplessness. He glanced at everyone present and said firmly, now, we have no other choice. Only through cooperation with other countries can we deal with this crisis. But is this really good? The 4th elder frowned and asked worriedly, wouldn't this mean we lose control of the country? The first elder took a deep breath and said slowly, this is only a temporary compromise. As long as we can survive this crisis, there is still room for redemption. Moreover, we can collect resources from the Chen family to improve our own strength. As for those people, as long as we give them better policies, I believe they will understand. The first elder's tone softened, as if he was trying to convince himself. Several other elders were silent for a moment, and finally nodded, agreeing with the decision. Okay, let's do it. But, who will negotiate with other countries? The 5th elder asked. Xin Zheng, it's up to you to discuss cooperation with them. The first elder looked at Xin Zheng. Xin Zheng stood up, nodded calmly and said, okay. The first elder nodded slightly, indicating that he could start preparations. The atmosphere in the conference room became solemn, and everyone realized that the next days will be full of uncertainty. If you don't pay attention, you will be in catastrophe. Qinglong University, inner courtyard. In a luxurious manner, a young man with sharp eyebrows and starry eyes suddenly opened his eyes, and a powerful aura burst out from his body, like a long-sleeping lion waking up and letting out a deafening roar. This strong fluctuation attracted the attention of everyone in the inner courtyard. They all looked in the direction of the manor, with expressions of surprise and awe on their faces. It's him. Is he finally coming out of seclusion? A tutor from the inner courtyard murmured to himself, with a hint of excitement flashing in his eyes. He knew who this young man was and what it meant to be in seclusion for a year. Ji Yu Changge. In another place, Ningyi looked at the fluctuation, clenched his fist tightly, and felt an indescribable emotion in his heart. He has a close friendship with Ji Yu Changge, being both a rival and a friend. But at this moment, he was more afraid of his strength. He should be able to defeat that god of death. Su Hanyu in the distance looked full of expectation, her eyes shining with light. Feeling the surging power in his body, Ji Yu Changge raised the corners of his mouth slightly, revealing a confident smile. After a year-long retreat, he finally succeeded in breaking through to the Saint Realm. It took a year, but I finally broke through to the Saint Realm. What a wonderful power! Ji Yu Changge moved his muscles and bones, feeling the continuous flow of energy in his body. He couldn't help but sigh that his efforts were not in vain, and his efforts were rewarded. I wonder if Hanyu misses me. Ji Yu Changge suddenly thought of Su Hanyu, and his heart felt warm. No more words, the figure flashed, flew out of the manor, and went straight to Su Hanyu's residence. Ji Yu Changge was very excited to see someone he hadn't seen for a long time, and stepped forward to hug Su Hanyu. Han Yu, have you missed me? Ji Yu Changge smelled the fragrance of the beauty's hair. Of course, Su Hanyu looked sweet. To outsiders, she was an iceberg beauty, but in front of Ji Yu Changge, she was like a spoiled little princess. A lot of things have happened recently. Su Hanyu told Ji Yu Changge everything that happened recently. After Ji Yu Changge heard this, he frowned and said, "Kill as soon as you say it. This is the first time I have seen such a person. However, you were really bold to dare to steal the limelight from me, Ji Yu Changge. I'll meet him later." Put out his arrogance. Chen Ling was sitting cross-legged in the villa, closing his eyes tightly, making secrets with his hands, and muttering something in his mouth, practicing the void qi condensation technique. As he breathed, the surrounding spiritual energy gradually gathered around him, forming a faint mist that enveloped him. The mist is getting thicker and thicker, and you can vaguely see some tiny water droplets flowing inside, as if it is about to condense into a liquid state. These spiritual energy continuously poured into Chen Ling's body, nourishing his meridians and body. Chen Ling's skin gradually became crystal clear, as if emitting a faint light. His body has also been greatly strengthened during this process, with more obvious muscle lines and a full sense of strength. After a while, Chen Ling's body suddenly shook, and a powerful aura burst out from his body. His cultivation level broke through again and reached the 4th layer of Saint Realm. He opened his eyes, and a hint of surprise flashed in his eyes. It's so easy to break through the realm, Chen Ling said to himself. He was surprised at the speed of his practice, but at the same time he realized that it might be related to the technique he practiced. On Blue Star, the cultivation techniques have been broken, and the highest existing technique is only heaven grade. However, the void qi condensation technique practiced by Chen Ling is a supreme level technique that surpasses heaven grade, and its effectiveness is naturally incomparable. At this moment, a loud voice sounded throughout Qinglong University. Ningyi, second on the Qianlong list, challenges Chen Ling. This sentence was like a bomb, instantly causing a huge sensation on campus. The students started talking about it. Hiss. Even Ningyi came to challenge that killing god. Tisk tisk, it seems that this Chen Ling is really strong. No, what do you think? Killing 5 million people is like drinking water. I can't afford to offend him, I can't afford to offend him. Chen Ling stood up slowly and walked to the floor-to-ceiling window. Outside the villa, he saw a group of students rushing towards the duel field. Let's go, let's go. There's another big show to watch today. Ningyi beats Chen Ling. It's very interesting. Hurry, otherwise the seats will be taken away. Not only the students, but also the teachers in the outer and inner courtyards were alarmed. Qinglong University hasn't been so noisy for a long time. A hint of murderous intent flashed through Chen Ling's eyes. Children of destiny, always come by smell. The novels about past lives do not deceive me. However, I can receive rewards again. Chen Ling smiled mysteriously, and disappeared into the villa in a flash. At the same time, on the duel field, Ningyi held a sword in his arms and stood there quietly with his eyes closed, as if he was integrated with the surrounding environment. A bunch of alpaca bangs slightly covered one eye, looking mysterious and profound. His cheeks are delicate, revealing a unique youthful atmosphere. However, as time passed by, Chen Ling did not appear. Ningyi gradually became impatient. In the audience, the students also began to talk. Isn't Chen Ling afraid to come? A student whispered. Another student echoed. That's right. Ningyi is second on the Qianlong ranking and a student in the inner courtyard. He is not comparable to those before. Chen Ling is most likely a coward. If you dare to talk nonsense again, I will cut out your tongue. Xie Ziqing suddenly stood up, held the shoulder of the person who just spoke, and warned in a cold tone. Wang Tang, Xiao Chuhei, Zhao Kongcheng and other 6 people also came here. They sat next to Xie Ziqing and looked at the people around them with indifferent eyes. After all, Chen Ling is their boss. If the boss wants to fight, the younger brothers will naturally come to support him. The person who just spoke turned his head and saw Xie Ziqing's cold eyes. He was shocked and quickly lowered his head. After all, they are all Chen Ling's younger brothers, and each of them is a ruthless person. He does not want to provoke them. Here it comes. Ningyi suddenly opened his eyes, looked at the sky, and murmured to himself. I saw Chen Ling stepping into the air step by step from a distance, each step carrying a powerful momentum, as if he was going to crush the void. His figure looked extraordinarily tall and mighty, which made people shocked. When he reached the top of the duel arena, Chen Ling slowly fell down, as heavy as a Mount Tai, and the ground shook slightly. Ningyi stared at Chen Ling, his eyes full of solemnity. In fact, his challenge to Chen Ling this time was entirely out of jealousy and dissatisfaction with Ji Yu Changge. He was unwilling to be suppressed by Ji Yu Changge and was eager to save some face by defeating Chen Ling. From childhood to adulthood, Ningyi has always lived in cynicism and has extremely high self-esteem. He couldn't accept that he had always been the second child, so he decided to have a showdown with Chen Ling. At this time, Ji Yu Changge took Su Hanyu up to the overlook, and his eyes fell on Ningyi. Ningyi is such a stubborn person. Ji Yu Changge shook his head gently and sighed secretly in his heart. Let Brother Yi test Chen Ling's strength first, so that we can better understand Chen Ling and win. Su Hanyu comforted with a smile. However, Ji Yu Changge's expression gradually became serious. But this Chen Ling is not simple, it can actually make me feel a little palpitated. He frowned, and a trace of worry surged in his heart. Are you going to challenge me? Chen Ling said playfully, we have agreed beforehand that fighting me will be a matter of life and death. I will not show mercy when the time comes. Ningyi held a long sword in his hand, come on. Today, you will lose. Chen Ling shook his head and secretly thought it was a pity, you are still too young. Having said that, release the cultivation level of 9th layer, the powerful aura is all over the body, and the red aura is constantly released. Dao Yijing 9th layer, is this your real strength? Ningyi did not dare to underestimate him, and also released the Dao Yijing 9th layer's strength. The two of them drew their swords at the same time, constantly colliding with each other and sparking sparks. They were extremely fast. After they separated, they waved their swords again to attack. The people in the audience were dazzled, and only some people could see the moves clearly. Are they equal, or are they hiding their strength? Ji Yu Changge said to himself. After fighting 300 moves, the two of them separated with a tacit understanding. As expected of a son of luck, I can actually understand this sword move. Chen Ling praised. Stop hiding your clumsiness. Use your strongest move, otherwise, you will die next. Chen Ling said loudly. Chaos, destruction. Ningyi also began to prepare his sword, and the powerful sword energy continued to sweep across the duel field, sword intent. Gather. One sword can break all laws. On Chen Ling's side, he took a deep breath and mobilized his spiritual energy. A black sphere condensed in his hand. When he pushed it out from his palm, the black sphere expanded and turned into a black torrent, which kept pouring into his eyes. From time to time, a few flashes of lightning flashed past. Chen Ling's eyes turned into deep black, and 2 beams of light rushed out of his eyes. The 2 attacks collided together. It's a pity, it's a pity. Hanging on the wall is hanging on the wall. As soon as Ning Yi's sword intention came into contact, it was swallowed up by the chaotic light. I was defeated after all. Ning Yi looked at the beam of light rushing towards him, his face full of despair. Before he died, he seemed to see the boy who was randomly bullied in the past slowly rising up until today. In the end, is this a dream dreamed by a useless young man who was unwilling to give up? Perhaps, there is no young man rising at all. Ning Yi said confused. The black light pillar swallowed his body, and in an instant, it turned into a wisp of dust. Brother Ning. Ji Yu Changge stood up and shouted, a tear falling down his cheek. Although they are both sons of fate, they are rivals, but they are also friends and cherish each other. Ding! Congratulations to the host for killing the son of luck, the reward has been distributed. Chen Ling ignored it. He also heard Ji Yu Chengge's voice just now. Looking at Ji Yu Chengge, he said lightly, is this the number 1 on the Qianlong list, Ji Yu Chengge? Ji Yu Chengge is very angry now. Ning Yi died in front of him. His face was filled with ice and he had never been so angry before. He jumped from the overlook to the duel field and faced Chen Ling directly. It's that man, Ji Yu Chengge. I heard that he was released from prison before. It seems the news is true. I heard that he has broken through to the Saint Realm. He will definitely defeat Chen Ling this time. Ji Yu Chengge ignored those voices and gritted his teeth and said to Chen Ling, you shouldn't kill him. Chen Ling spread his hands and said nonchalantly, life and death are determined by fate, wealth and honor are determined by heaven. This is not a game played by others, but my rules. Seeing Chen Ling's frivolous look, Ji Yu Chengge became even more angry. You really deserve to die. Fight with me and I will kill you. At the same time, Ji Yu Chengge's personal dashboard appeared in front of Chen Ling. Name, Ji Yu Chengge. Age, 22. Realm, Saint Realm First Layer. Skills, Demonic Art Emperor Grade, Hand of Heaven Emperor Grade, Void Realm Emperor Grade. Special Physique, Void Holy Body. Luck Level, Level 6 Purple Luck Colors, Black, White, Yellow, Green, Blue, Purple, Red, Gold, Color. Goldfinger, Emperor Grade, contains the Emperor Realm Sword Spirit. Evaluation, the slightly grown Son of Luck has a higher luck level and rich rewards after killing it. Chen Ling licked his lips. In his eyes, Ji Yu Chengge was like a prey. Come fight. With this roar, Ji Yu Chengge moved the void holy body with all his strength, and the surrounding space seemed to be distorted, and even a faint black aura emerged. Haha, facing Ji Yu Chengge like this, Chen Ling no longer hid his strength. The cultivation of the 4th layer of the Saint Realm completely exploded, the chaotic Godfiend body was completely released, and strange phenomena appeared. A blood moon hung high in the sky, exuding a powerful aura, and Chen Ling's long red hair was particularly conspicuous. He wore magic armor of thorns, making himself even more mysterious and unpredictable. However, Ji Yu Chengge was not afraid at all. Instead, he became more upright and said firmly, killing Ning Yi is the most wrong thing you have ever done in your life. The Hand of God. As soon as he finished speaking, a huge black 5-fingered hand slowly appeared above the clouds. Each finger was as huge as a small mountain. In comparison, Chen Ling looked like a tiny ant in front of him. But at this moment, Chen Ling shouted softly, Godfiend is coming. In an instant, the Godfiend law manifestation behind him appeared and began to grow in size, gradually surpassing the Hand of God. Death, Ji Yu Chengge shouted angrily, and his voice was like thunder, resounding throughout the entire duel field. The giant black hand in his hand suddenly expanded, covering the sky and the sun, and with unparalleled pressure, it slammed down at Chen Ling like a hill. Facing this terrifying attack, Chen Ling's expression remained unchanged and his eyes were cold. As he muttered words, the Godfiend law manifestation instantly became dozens of times larger, and the bloody sword in his hand also became extremely huge, flashing with a heart-stopping cold light. The blood sword becomes huge, Godfiend cuts it twice. Break it. As Chen Ling roared, Godfrey and Law Manifestation held the blood sword with both hands and slashed it down suddenly. Suddenly, two black and white sword lights pierced the void, roaring out like two giant dragons, facing the giant black hand with endless power. The two collided fiercely in the air, making a deafening noise. Suddenly, the wind and clouds changed color, and the heaven and earth trembled. However, what is surprising is that this attack did not determine the winner or loser, and both sides dissipated into nothingness at the same time. Ji Yu Chenggi's face changed slightly, and a thin layer of sweat broke out on his forehead. It was obvious that the blow just now took a lot of energy from him. But Chen Ling looked relaxed and at ease, with a faint smile on his face, as if he had everything under control. The realm of nothingness, Ji Yu Chengge shouted through gritted teeth, a trace of determination flashing in his eyes. I saw his fingers held together, suspended in midair, and a black light flashed past between his eyebrows. In an instant, the entire duel arena was shrouded in a mysterious realm, and outside audiences could no longer see clearly what was going on inside. In this realm, there are no stars, only boundless darkness. Ji Yu Chenggi's figure blended into the darkness, appearing and disappearing, constantly moving around Chen Ling, looking for the best opportunity to attack. Chen Ling frowned, feeling impatient. Therefore, he also released his own domain, Godfiend. In an instant, Ji Yu Chenggi's figure was suppressed and appeared in front of Chen Ling. His face was full of astonishment. He didn't expect Chen Ling's domain to be so powerful. I've played with you long enough. Tell me, how do you want to die? Chen Ling looked at Ji Yu Chengge indifferently, with a trace of impatience flashing in his eyes. His voice was full of majesty and domineering, making people shudder. You are so shameless. You are really used to being arrogant. Ji Yu Chengge had only disgust on his face. After that, he attacked Chen Ling. The two fought for hundreds of rounds, but Ji Yu Chengge couldn't hurt Chen Ling at all. Chen Ling, on the other hand, still dealt with the attack with ease. This turtle shell makes me uncomfortable. Break it for me. Godfrey and Law Manifestation punched out and hit the space barrier. You can't break my void realm, Ji Yu Chengge said proudly. However, what happened next was a slap in the face. Godfrey and Law Manifestation then threw a few punches, and the barrier seemed to have cracks, and then continued to break. How is that possible? Ji Yu Chengge was shocked. It's a pity that he doesn't know that the Chaos Godfiend body is the first Hongmeng body in the world, and his physique is just a holy body, which is too common outside the blue star. The void world was shattered, and Ji Yu Chengge naturally suffered a backlash. He fell from a high altitude to the duel arena, spitting out a mouthful of blood. People in the audience could finally see the scene below. Ji Yu Chengge was defeated. Didn't you see that he was beaten by Chen Ling until he vomited blood? Brother Ji Yu. Su Hanyu looked at Ji Yu Chengge with worry on her face. So far, you are the second strongest in my duel, Chen Ling said. The first one is of course Godfiend. He is also a freak, but slightly inferior to Chen Ling. Ji Yu Chengge said nothing, but his eyes were full of unwillingness. Chen Ling held the blood sword in his hand, his eyes were cold, and he spat out ruthless words, die. Don't jump around like this in the next life. As soon as he finished speaking, the blood sword flashed with blood and attacked Ji Yu Chengge. Ji Yu Chengge's pupils shrank suddenly, and a strong fear surged in his heart. He didn't want to die. At the critical moment, he roared, "Help me with Dao sword." As he shouted, a sound of piercing the air suddenly sounded, and then, a white-blue sword flew out from Ji Yu Chengge's storage ring and quickly blocked it in front of him, successfully resisting Chen Ling's attack. A fatal blow. Ji Yu Chengge breathed a sigh of relief, but still had lingering fears and was breathing heavily. At that moment, he really felt that he was only one step away from death. Chen Ling looked at the scene in front of him without being surprised, and then sneered, "Oh, Goldfinger, if you dare to mobilize external help, you are really looking for death." At this time, the white-blue sword exuded a powerful Emperor Realm aura, which made people shudder. At the same time, on the Qinglong University campus, many powerful people felt this powerful aura, and they quickly rushed to the overlook to see what happened. Huang Daosheng stared at the sword spirit with a look of shock on his face and muttered to himself, "Emperor Realm Sword Spirit." Chen Lei looked ugly. This should mean that Ji Yu Chengge lost, right? Use external force. The current situation is beyond our ability to stop. Huang Daosheng shook his head. Chen Lei took out his mobile phone and sent a message to Chen Tianao. Everyone, you have all seen that Ji Yu Chang'e was so powerful that he used the Emperor Realm Sword Spirit. Chen Ling said with his cultivation hidden in his voice. Hey, I didn't expect Ji Yu Chang'e to be such a person. If you can't beat him, just call someone. HMPH, you don't know what you are thinking. Isn't external force equal to one's own strength? Chen Ling looked at the sword spirit and said slowly, so, I also use external force. This is forced, Tianyi. A figure appeared, wearing a black mask, and his face could not be seen clearly, but the aura of the Heavenly Emperor realm continued to rage. This is Chen Ling's guard, named Tianyi. This is impossible. How can there be such a powerful Heavenly Emperor realm now? Even if there is, how can the aura be so thick? The Emperor Realm Sword Spirit exclaimed. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.